all the way from England. You may know him as Uncle Sharma.
When you guys started the channel, I was like, finally someone's spreading the word of Calcio in India as well. So Hindi thodi bhi aati hai, but itni achhi nahi hai.
Badhiya ji, badhiya.
It was just that, like, you tune in to watch Ronaldo. He's the reason why I started supporting Inter.
Cannavaro and Paolo tackling
For
him.
the Nerazzurri.
That one, yeah.
That for me reinstates what a legend he was.
Remember when the old lady couldn't masturbate?
I remember, I've not forgotten.
To get up every morning to win another title, that hunger, that celebration, it takes an effort.
Zlatan at Juve or Zlatan at Inter?
I was Latin at Inter, definitely.
Yeah. A lot of my teenage and early adulthood days were completely ruined thanks to you, Rahul. Pineapple on pizza or no pineapple on pizza?
Next question.
I think we're quite old now. We're millennials. So we watched our teams.
For yourself, man.
The only Gen Z. Ciao, ciao, dosto. Welcome to a special episode of Calcio Charcha. With us, we have a special guest all the way from England. You may know him as Uncle Sharma, but at home, he's known as Rahul. Naam to suna hoga na? Sharma. And in case if you're wondering why I'm opening this episode, is because as a southerner, as a Romanista from the south of Italy, I am up against the Northern Alliance of the three giants, the Juventino, Dhananjay, the Milanista, Chintan, and of course, the Interista and our special guest, Uncle Sharma. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Here to spread Interismo around India.
Lovely, lovely. I'm going to give back the honors of hosting back to DJ.
Guys, welcome to this very special episode. So of course, we're going to call you Rahul or Uncle as you prefer. Rahul, before we get into your affinity for the club that you support, let's get, for the uninitiated, let's hear your story. Let's start with where you were born, where you lived and where you are currently residing. Let's take it from there.
Sure. So I was born in Punjab, in Fagwara, if you guys have heard of it. But then my dad, like many Punjabis, decided to move abroad, but he didn't go to England or Canada, the usual destinations. For some reason, he chose Italy. So from age 1 till 13, I was living in Modena, Italy, north of Italy, which is near, if for football reference, is like near Sassuolo, is the nearest team that you probably heard of for Modena, because the Modena team isn't that good. And then so growing up there in a small village outside, it's not actually in Modena, it was like a small village where we were the only Indian family there, the only brown people there. And my affinity to Inter started because of R9.
Of course.
Obvious. So I like the color blue. My best friend across the road, he supported Inter, his family, so I just got, initiated into that, and that's where the love started. Christian Vieri, Adriano, all those guys, and then age 13 I moved to the UK, first to London, and then Leicester, but I continued my love and support for Inter throughout, and and it continues until now.
And tell us before that a little bit about your link with India. How much have you forgotten the sarson da saag, matti di roti, the butter chicken? Does that still exist in your palate?
Yeah, at home we speak Punjabi at home. My mum and dad, they're very, Karak Punjabi, and we eat saag, all those kind of things, weekly. Hindi thodi bhi aati hai, but itni achhi nahi hai.
Badhiya ji, badhiya.
So, no, the link with India is very strong, but we go back every few years, but we go to Punjab, so this is my first time. Finally, I was saying, I want to visit other parts of India, finally, so this has started. We did Goa last few days, so we've been in Goa now, last 3 days in Mumbai, and I want to continue doing south, the deep south of India as well, and explore, and I still feel definitely, I'm a mixture of things. My passport is still Italian, so I still feel Italian in some way. I support the Italian national team, but I can't let the link to India go as well. So I feel half Italian, half Indian, but also now British as well. So
Ancestry.com.
Yeah.
You have it
Look
right
it up.
there.
It's quite a family
Oh,
tree.
yeah.
Huh? Also, so from the time that you left India to the time that you've come back, what differences do you see in the country? What has this trip felt like as against when you were growing up and leaving home? Do you see any similarities, or do you feel like India has changed over the years?
no, yeah, definitely a lot of change since I've been coming as a young kid. Even in Punjab, I think Punjab hasn't progressed as much as I've seen like Delhi and Mumbai. Like Mumbai is like amazing. Last couple of days, what I've seen, it's just a modern city like any other in Europe. I feel. Obviously, the chaos and the traffic is.
Of course.
I experienced that today. A little taste of it. You guys experience that every day.
Every day, yeah.
And the markets, the hustle and bustle. You don't get that anywhere in Europe. So that's always going to be the
Special.
uniqueness, of India. But everything else, the infrastructure, I can see like everything is getting there. The connections, the roads. Like in Goa, the roads are all like brand new.
Yeah.
It's like amazing. The investment has been made. So now I'm seeing this growth of culture as well, which is good to see. Obviously EPL is dominating, but
Of course.
I was so happy to find you guys. Like I know Parmeshwar for a while, but then
Yeah.
when you guys started the channel, I was like, finally someone's spreading the word of culture in India as well. So that's part of the growth as well.
Absolutely, well said. And I think now we want to go back really to the business, and you spoke about your affinity for Inter and how you started supporting them. R9, legend of the game. Why don't we just delve a little deeper into that? What season was this that really, when he caught your eye? Was it when he was at Inter, or was it his trajectory, him leading into signing up with Inter, and then what was the journey after that?
Yeah, I mean, when he signed, I was probably like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years old, so I don't really remember. Like, it was just a big deal, in
Right.
Italy when it happened. It was just
Right.
like this guy. He's like the best talent in the world, and Inter back in the day when it was lira, it was like millions or maybe even billions in lira. It was, so it was like a big deal, and it was like, oh, who is this guy? Smile, goofy teeth, and then you watch him playing. Like as a kid, the skills, the step overs, like it's just mesmerizing. So it was just that, like you tune in to watch Ronaldo, like you just watch the game for him, and then afterwards you get interest for other players. And then but then obviously he was always injured for Inter most of the time. So then you don't really understand when you're young. It's like, where is Ronaldo? Why is he not playing? You don't really understand what injuries. And then you see, oh, but they got Christian Vieri. It's like, wow, this guy is really good. And you got other players like, oh, Alvaro Recoba. Oh wow, like what a left foot. And you start to understand the
You
game.
got Zamorano, were you a fan?
Zamorano. Yeah, you see, like when you're a kid, you just get like the 1+8, like why does he get to pick a special number? So he must be a special player, right?
Right.
So all these like little things, and the Moratti, like as a president, he was like a very interesting character, as most Italian presidents are.
Yep.
Tend to be, yeah.
Yeah, and the kits, of course, is very iconic. Pirelli, black and blue, like we said, like the classic kits that just look so good, like this one. So it was just a combination of factors that got me into it, and then of course, as I said, my friends were supporting it, my best friend, and then even though it was a very bad memory when Juve won the Scudetto on that last day, you saw Ronaldo crying.
Yeah.
I was just going to get to that actually.
2002.
I was just
2002.
going to get to that, like, because he was the one who was on the happy end of it.
I think it's too early in the episode to get to that, but
Before that, I would really like to thank Inter and Ronaldo for defeating, I don't know which club in the UEFA Cup final. It was Ronaldo who stole the show.
Oh.
I mean, can you imagine if that side of the city would have won the UEFA Cup?
Oh my god. By the way, I've had this discussion once in one of our episodes. There are 2 to 3 shots which are so iconic for me when it comes to a picture. One is, of course, the legendary picture of Rui Costa and Materazzi when the flares are going on.
Yeah.
Second is Maradona walking up the stairs at Naples, and the third is that iconic step over. Like that, and
mind-blowing.
One of that, and the second, of course, when it comes to just talking about Ronaldo, second is Cannavaro and Paolo tackling
For
him.
the Azzurri.
that one, yeah.
That for me reinstates what a legend he was. Like that, Maldini had to specifically instruct a young Cannavaro that you guys need to work together to mark someone like that. So for me, these are the three, what do you call it, the iconic pictures which are still so.
What about that Ronaldo performance in a potato field in Russia somewhere?
Oh, yeah.
My God.
Yeah.
That pitch is unplayable by the way
Yeah.
in today's modern day. No one's going to play over there.
I can only think of two unplayable pitches. One was that, of course, and one was the unfortunate,
Perugia.
the Galatasaray one, the Juventus Galatasaray.
That was horrible as well.
Yeah, so that was, something like that. But yeah, I think Ronaldo, let's call him the OG Ronaldo, I'm guessing. No disrespect to any other CR7.
Yeah.
He's a phenomenon. So, no, but yeah, he was a good memory for you, but a scar for the rest of us, I guess.
Yeah, but guys, like look at where we are, like old school vintage, right? Talking about R9, we're talking about Maldini, which now brings me to really, before we get to the Derby d'Italia, let's discuss the Derby della Madonnina. Chintan, as everyone knows, icon of the Milan and the Rossonero in India, Uncle Sharma, icon of the Interista in Italy, in the UK. I think this is going to be a very legendary showdown, kind of like R9 and Maldini. Head to head, they've both been through a banter era recently. I think Inter's obviously emergence has been fairly spectacular. They're doing very well in a very sustainable way. Chintan, I want you to take the floor. First, guide us down in terms of after R9 and then the banter era. Did you really see the trajectory of Inter coming through the debris a lot sooner than Milan? How do you feel about that today? And then we'll lead into the rivalry at large.
Yeah, Fenomeno was of course absolutely amazing. The year I started supporting them, and one of the most iconic results for me, I've been saying it for a long time, was the 6-0 victory Milan went through, and I was like, wow, this is the real team in Milan. And of course I went through that beautiful period of I think the Juventus Champions League win just kind of reinstated how great that team was. Carlo was amazing, and you had very likable players from that team. Kaká is someone you can't really hate. So, and then of course after seeing that high, when you see high so early and then you see that Jose Mourinho dominance, it kind of takes you back, right? Okay, wow, look at the resurgence of Inter. Of course there was a scandal, Milan were caught into it just like Juve, not as bad as Juve. So then I saw that this growth, of course, Zlatan going there, and everyone knew and everyone loved Zlatan, I was like, wow, they're just catching on to some good players. That was hard, because till that particular time, the derbies were pretty much towards Milan's favor, and it was very hard to see that initial time where, okay, Mourinho was coming, and it was difficult to see Milan struggle so much, even in the Champions League, even in the league. After the treble, of course, we had to hide ourselves, wow, the first team to win a treble and all. And then, of course, Milan won the title immediately. But then banter era, it was probably, I feel it's one of the most iconic derbies in the world. It is,
of course,
it is, and I think, of course, he knows. And you don't find a lot of 0-0 draws, because it's either a win or either sides. So we went through a banter era, but for us, even that time, okay, we need to mark our calendars for this derby. As you said, when we came out of it, I really thought Milan would step out sooner, because Milan did end up spending more money than Inter. We got the Magnificent Seven, when we got, I don't know why were they called the Magnificent Seven, but of course, we had the Chinese owners, and we really thought that we would step out. I think...
Hashtag we are so rich.
Yeah, yes, never forget that. I don't think you guys will ever let us forget that. So I really thought we are stepping out, but I guess Inter had a more organic process coming out of it. I think the season where they got Spalletti kind of changed for them, because they understood that they needed a steady process. Yeah. They didn't really go for the title first. Let's go for the top 4. Let's get into the habit of getting into the Champions League. That will churn us some money.
It was Beppe Marotta.
Yeah. No, of course, it was good getting to that. I understand this current culture of getting good young players, but I guess teams in Italy, we kind of don't have that attrition rate. We can't really groom a youngster, give them that time, because we want results too, right? Because the teams are doing that badly. So we really thought we were going to move out, and then of course when Spalletti came in, and the match against Lazio, man, I don't know. I think Divra, I don't know what was. There was some setting. That can't be. Yeah. That was just a setting. I think they just wanted to get into the Champions League. They spoke to De Vrij at halftime.
He will take that to his grave, the Vrij, for sure.
Yeah. It has to be, right? It has to be one of the biggest.
And that is that single moment, right? That the butterfly effect that you talk about. Inter getting into Champions League and what has followed since.
Simone Inzaghi coming here.
Everything.
Matthias Vecino.
Yeah. So for me, once that happened, I think Inter are kind of on a good track. They got Conte, they sacked Conte, but the minute we found out that who's coming following Conte, Inzaghi, I understood that they have a set system, they have something which they want to follow up. Back three manager again, Simeone, a little less stubborn. So kind of when Beppe of course came in, you knew that they are on the right track, but the rise has been phenomenal. To be very honest, the only flag bearer when it comes to Champions League. I had this very heartfelt discussion with a Milanista, and he said that Serie A is Europa level right now. It's a hard truth, except Inter Milan, because I don't think we go into any match day other than Inter, you can say, okay, they have a chance to win. And I'm being very harsh here.
True.
Very honest, it is. Roma has been doing well in Europa. I think Milan in Europa would be doing well too. Not that Europa is any easy. But, so, when that's happening, it's time to hide. And 6 back-to-back losses we faced recently. So right now, I'm sitting so proudly here right now, is they might be beating every team. Don't think they've beaten Milan this season. So my question to you is, like, when you're talking about this, is of course, I saw when of course Fenomeno came in and all. That time Milan were, after that 2001, 2002, Milan were kind of peaking. So as a fan from the other side, what were your thoughts like? Okay, this Milan team is spectacular, is doing well. So at that time, of course, the rivalry is huge. The Milan derbies was spectacular. So was that constant fear that, oh my God, are we going to win this match? Are we going to what is going to happen?
Yeah, no, definitely. I personally hate Juve more. Like that's the bigger rivalry for me.
Yeah.
Like it's for, if you ask like guys from Milano, like that area, they definitely feel the Milan derby more. But I think Interisti around the world, the Juve one is the one that hurts us the most.
Surely.
But the Milan one, it's like the Berlusconi era was definitely, you guys dominated that era. Moratti, as much as we love him, he didn't, the way he ran the football team was very emotionally, not very strategic.
More as a fan.
And
more eccentric in his decision making.
Yeah, but of course we still love him, and you're not going to get a president like that anymore. They don't exist. But as Chinta mentioned, once in 2018 Beppe Marotta came in, that was the change of everything. Like you see it now with Man United, Chelsea, like these teams, everything starts from the top. And once that happened, everything changed. Mauro Icardi was, top scorer, Serie A MVP, throw the money at him, give him a new contract. Marotta said, no, this guy, Wanda Icardi, his wife, toxic.
They're too toxic.
Yeah.
That's a separate podcast discussion by itself.
Yeah. That's
the big Wanda fan. I'm a big Wanda fan.
That's the gossip podcast. TMZ.
Calcio Chacha.
Yeah.
And he cleaned the slate. That was the most important thing. Before that, it was like same as Milan. Maybe not as much when Suning first came in. Throw money at it. João Mario, Gabigol. Let's buy this guy. Let's Eva Banega. On paper, like really good names. Mancini, Roberto Mancini, bringing him back. Sounds so good on paper. Like we get excited. I think at one point, even 2016, we were first until November or December, and we're thinking, oh, we're back. But no, it's just flash in the pan.
Yes.
So it was hard, after 2010, just seeing the team dip. But I can say confidently, our banter era was not as bad as your banter era.
We're still there.
I think you're going back into one.
It's unfortunate it is. But as he said, I think it does make a difference right now. When it comes to Milan, right now, what we're seeing right now is at the top, right? What he said, things need to be sorted at the top. But that's of course another emotional topic when it comes to Milan. When it comes to rivalries, of course, we've seen 2 especially huge iconic Champions League games. Back then, of course, the Dida game I don't think it was heard of, right? I don't think a match being called off a 3-0 victory.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing that ever happen.
No, it happened with Roma and Dynamo Kiev when that referee was hit by.
Yeah.
What season was this?
2004.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Sadly.
Okay, an Italian team.
Yeah, Italian.
Sure.
Yeah,
Only in Italy.
Yeah, so those are like those big games, that the incident of course marred kind of gave. There's nothing called bad publicity. That's what I think. Okay, because Milan derby was in the forefront. People are talking about it. That derby. Were you back in Italy when that derby happened?
2003.
Yeah.
So I moved in 2006. So I was there. Yeah.
So what was what was the whole environment like? How excited were you guys? Because Champions League, meeting in the league is of course completely different, but meeting in the Champions League. So I want to fast forward that derby to the derby which happened recently, of course, where you guys went in the finals. So that derby, was there because Milan were the Champions League team, not the league team, was there any fear oh my god, we need to do 10 times better?
The old one. Yeah, so the old one we used to get in Italy. We didn't the Serie A games we didn't watch because you have to pay for those, so we didn't have the thing. But Champions League games were free to watch. So yeah, the Champions League games were massive because there was a small bar in the village where I lived, so everyone would gather there to watch on the screen. So yeah, that was the big night, the Champions League night, and yeah, it was painful.
And now fast forward this to the recent one where you guys went in the final. I know there's nothing I know people talk about the Milan DNA, the Champions League. Of course, things have changed a lot. But regardless of the results in the league, because that time you were dominating Milan in the league too. Going in the Champions League game, was that a little fear? It's a Champions League game, can be a little different. Was the result surprising for you?
Yeah, no, there was. If I remember my previews, we were definitely cautious.
I've read that.
Yeah. So, I mean, going into a derby, I'm always I think I always predict a draw. I'm not superstitious, but I think when it comes to the derbies, I'm always 1-1, 2-2, something like that. So I was definitely fearful of Milan. Yeah, because the way you guys play, I think, especially under Pioli, I think it was suited for European style, with Leao, Theo, on the counter attack. And our team has always been a little bit, not very athletic, So I definitely feared you guys, and I didn't expect to win that easily both of those games. It was one of the most stress-free, double legs
that has to be one of the most insulting things I've heard as a Milan fan.
Look, it's a European night, right? It can't be stress-free no matter who you're playing.
But they scored in the first minute. That goal kind of gets it's like a punch in the gut. When you score, and I think what happened during that time is, however great Pioli was, and I think Pioli had a number of Juventus, probably every other team except Inter, because Simeone set up teams. He loves when the teams attack.
Come at him.
Yeah. So Pioli had this thing playing one way, right? Let's go all out. That kind of took everyone. The reason why we won that title is because everyone is taken by surprise.
Right.
What is this Milan team? Why are they playing like Atalanta?
Right.
So I think but only team we didn't surprise was Inter, because they're okay, you come at us. And that goal, I think the Brozovic goal was pure counter attack brilliance, because he was just ran through the middle, and Brozovic is not supposed to be scoring a lot of goals. So that was hard. When that happened, the second leg, Leao injured, I think there was no way. We had so sad. We had a Milan watch along. We met somewhere. 5 fans turned up because no one had any expectations of turning the result around. I didn't too, but I was of course being a old school Milanese. I was like, let's if they have an ounce of Milan DNA in them, but I guess it was not there. That gets me to the next topic, which of course I want to involve you guys. Simeone. We have to talk about him. His approach, not just in Europe and in the league, and what makes you think, he has different variations of back 3-8, 3-5-2 he plays. What makes him so superior when it comes to other Italian managers or other teams? Because I know Inter has a great team, but there is something which he tweaks in games, in European games. Or is this a very rare thing where you don't usually have managers who like teams attacking them? Is that the case? There is something about Simeone and this Inter. They don't look like they can be beaten easily. I think they've conceded like one goal in UCL.
UCL,
It's just a single goal.
So as an outsider, like what do you think when you see this Inter team?
It's a combination of things, guys. It also comes down to timing, right? You see Inzaghi's 3-5-2 and you see Conte's 3-5-2. He's a lot more adaptive. Inzaghi is a very proactive coach and Conte tends to be more reactive, when you look at the way they set their teams up. But also I think it's a combination of the way Inzaghi's players have matured within that formation over this given period of time. He has the midfield that all of Europe is gunning for. Makes a big difference. He's got leaders in defense and he's got, it's something I was actually telling Param. The attack is, there's a telepathy between them. The way they move off the ball is insane. And I saw it in both Juve games. I've seen it outside of that. I've seen it in their European nights. I think those combinations are blending very well in Inzaghi's favor. You can also see though, you can see that the team right now is so mature that you've begun to hit that plateau, and now from that plateau there is a little bit of a downward curve unless that squad is replenished. There is talk of Castro coming in. I feel like that fatigue is setting in terms of also having won enough, so you're losing a little bit of hunger. The Waterloo really for this team, as far as I'm concerned, is what happens in the Champions League this season. For me, they're potential favourites, given whoever's left. I think Madrid are probably the only team that are going to have their number. Inter and Liverpool are the ones that I think are vying for it outside of Madrid. And if they're able to get it over the line this season, I think there's going to be a massive restructure with, Marotta leading the way and, guiding things. Also, I think there's a question to be asked in terms of how hungry Inzaghi will be if they end up winning the Champions League, how hungry Lautaro will be to continue with this project, maybe seek, a destination elsewhere. I have my views on the Scudetto race, which we'll come to a little later, but that's my take, and I feel like this Inzaghi 3-5-2 that is so adaptive is the reason why they're able to cut it both in Serie A and keep the pace in the Champions League as well.
Yeah. In fact, when someone says that Simone Inzaghi is underrated, that's a criminal offense. I mean, he's
he's documented. Like he's a class guy. He's not the upper echelons just yet, but he's a class coach. He can get there. But he needs patience. Maybe he needs a run with Juve as well. But he's a guy who I think like this season in many ways will be defining for him as far as the Champions League goes. I don't think he'll get a better shot than what he has with this team this season.
So Ajay, I'll get to one point, a very interesting point, Rahul, for you also. A different take where I come from, being from the other side of Milan. He has won one league title. He of course lost to Milan and lost to Napoli. And he's kind of fighting with Napoli this season. Ajay, if they don't win this season, with the team he has and how well they play and how attractive they are, not just in Italy but in Europe also, can we say that he is underachieving at Inter with this team if they don't end up winning this title? I'll ask you first and I'll go to him. What do you think?
See, he's gunning for
All
treble. He said that. He's done the. So that's a benchmark that he set for himself, which is commendable because it shows confidence. But you're right. If he doesn't win the league this year, massive underachievement. The Champions League would be a cherry on the top because it's way more difficult to win given the situation that Italian teams are in right now. But the league has to be a minimum win for sure. And this year they can easily win the Coppa as well. They have Milan, 2 legs. In 2 legs, a lot of things can happen. And then they face Empoli or Bologna. So even that's a very achievable target. Double should be a minimum achievement year on. And if the Champions League comes in, it cements Inzaghi's legacy. So answering your question, I definitely feel that he's not underachieved, but he should have won another Scudetto, and this season he has to win it at all costs.
What now? Coming to you.
No pressure.
Coming to you because the team is amazing, probably the best team in Italy and by a margin. And of course, let's not forget Napoli have been dropping points too, even though they just play once a week. I know you guys are going for all the 3 titles. Champions League, after the loss, it was you Lukaku should have scored that, of course. Let's not get into that.
Oh, God.
My point is, this season, of course, what is your minimum expectations when it comes to Simeone? Like with the league, with the Copa, where do you think, like last season, I feel Inter lost a little early to Atletico Madrid. Had it not been for Arnautovic, you should have just
Killed it.
won it.
Killed it
Killed
in the
it at
first
San
leg,
Siro.
in the first
Yeah.
leg.
But my point here is Atletico anyways are a difficult team to beat with other Simeone. So my point is, do you think it'll be a fair assessment as an Interista too that if he does not end up winning this title, one title in 4 years or 5 years is kind of an underachievement with the team he has?
Yeah.
And the state of the league at large.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. It's a big argument within Inter fans. There's, the Simone Inzaghi bucked that, like, he can't do anything wrong. Yeah. I love him, but it's definitely.
I hope those are not Laziale pretending to be Interisti.
They could be. I don't know. But no, I definitely go on the spectrum that this is underachievement because the title you guys won, we still,
7 points ahead. 6 or 7 points you guys were ahead.
Yeah. We're still angry about that with Inzaghi because we feel like we let that slip. Not because of the derby loss. That was definitely the momentum change that season. But after that, there was that period when 7 games, 7 points. Obviously,
and I think there was an individual error in the game in hand, and I guess
the Radu gate. So that season, we're still, we lost that to you guys. We saw Lautaro Barella crying on the field on the last game day when you guys won at Sassuolo. So that still hurts that we didn't win that one. Obviously, last year we made up for that. The Napoli one is like, you can't do much. They won with like 90 club points. They were just crazy. So there's nothing. But then that season was really bad. 12 losses that season. Yes, we got through Champions League final, but 12 losses. That was our worst season since the Spalletti era in the league. So the way we lost that title as well was like, okay, Champions League final. Last year, amazing. Atletico loss. Yeah, it would have been nice to go maybe 1 or 2 rounds more, but this squad is not built to fight on so many fronts. So this is why we're like, even this season, we're like, Coppa Italia, like I would have been happy to lose that game against Lazio because it's like this squad, average age, every team we put out is about 29.5, 30.
The oldest team in the league, right?
Yeah, easily. So it's not made to fight on 3 fronts. They just can't do it physically, structurally. The 3-5-2 as well is a very very taxing system. They can't do it.
Yep.
So it feels like he should know now in his 4th season how to manage these energies. But then again, as you said, the mentality of wanting to go every competition, he's like, Inter, it means you gotta win or try to win every competition, which is commendable. And you're a big club, so it makes sense. But for us, it feels like, be realistic, manage the players and the energies properly, and a double is definitely on the cards. But yeah, Scudetto is minimum. If he doesn't, I'm not saying sack him because I want to. I'm happy
continue
to
the project.
Yeah. But it's definitely not good performance.
You can rest players for Copa.
But he won't. That's the thing. Yeah. For the
I'll talk to him. You need to rest.
You beat us anyway. You're on like our bogey team this season.
So my point is again when it comes to the bench strength, and Aslani, I think you can talk about the Super Copa loss is the one he didn't track Liao with that run, and he's been there for quite a few. He's had a horrendous.
This is his 3rd season,
Yeah, that's my point. Is you signed Zielinski, you signed Taremi. With the current state of your centre backs, do you think you guys missed out on a centre back this season? You should have ideally bought a centre back with De Vrij, Okayish, with injuries, talking about Acerbi with his age. No doubt, Acerbi fit, he pocketed Haaland, everyone saw that. When he's fit, probably he's
When he's fit, he's amazing.
Yeah.
But the point is that, so as DJ said, this might be the end of a cycle. So even if you keep Inzaghi, if you get a few fresh players, the cycle takes time to kick in. And I guess Juventus are kind of on an upward trajectory. Look at Roma doing so well, Lazio are fighting, Atalanta are there, Napoli is always going to be there, Milan might just get someone else. So as you said, this season might be the last because next you see a few players leaving, right, and new cycle starting in. So even if there are chances, do you think the management might be pissed off and might sack him, or
no,
that won't happen?
No.
I think, Marotta, at the helm, it's a project that, he had a certain vision board with and for. I don't see them do any more knee-jerk stuff as they have in the past. It would be silly to sack him because really there is a dearth of good coaches, at the moment. So I think a new cycle really implements kind of more a change of guard in terms of personnel on the field. It'll still be Inzaghi's vision board of a 3-5-2, and then Marotta mixing and matching between opportunity buys and then bringing in good young talent, you know. But of course,
I think the main thing now is the different ownership. Oak Tree, they want to build, for what sounds to me what you guys are doing basically, you know, investment fund. They want to have younger players that have resale value.
Exactly.
Like you guys buy, if they buy, it's about 20-25 million euros max. That's the, you know, sweet spot, maximum spot, which is nice. Like, you know, because we just buy free transfers. I think we saw with Taremi and Zielinski's, like, you can only do that so many times with these aging players that. Have they really got the hunger? Like, Zielinski's come. It doesn't seem like he really wants to take Mkhitaryan's spot. Like, so maybe you do need younger, fresher players. So it's an interesting time, but also it's like moving slightly away from the Marotta's way of doing things. So hopefully we don't do it. Like, it doesn't mean that we do it the Milan way is going to end up like Milan did it. It just, with Marotta at the helm, I do trust him to make the right purchases.
It has to be a mix of both, right? I think where Milan fell off is you can't have so many youngsters throw in at once to value the jersey they're playing.
Because you kind of need that experience to offset, you know, that lack of experience. And Juve is facing that at the moment.
Exactly.
Like, amazing enthusiasm, but sometimes you miss that little leadership reference point on the pitch, which is where I feel like Marotta will bring that balance in the kind of players that come in. You will still seek, you know, that off opportunity buy of someone who's a little established to kind of come in and help the new guys. But it's really, like you said, it is a cap on what you're willing to spend, and most importantly, the wage gap. That wage gap is so important.
Because we're the highest paid team now in Italy. So
and now to sort that out is quite a bit of work. You know?
But our core is very good age. Like Lautaro is 27, Barella's 28, Bastoni 25, 26. Bissek's coming through, he's the 23, 24, Dumfries 28. It's like
Di Marco is there. So I guess you've got your bases right. Now, again, I asked him that question, I need to ask you. When you face European teams, like I think you've beaten Liverpool at Anfield, amazing goal, I remember that goal was fantastic. You held your own against almost all big teams. Atletico was just a sad loss.
A B team defeating Arsenal.
Almost
without take that Prem thoughts.
Because it is, and of course the common thing people keep talking about, it was just a single goal and Inter didn't play. But I guess people forget, Ajay, Inter have that kind of ability to play in that third gear and still manage a game out. That's why I was so surprised with the Napoli draw, because I guess you expect them to play. You people are, oh my god, Napoli are playing so well, they've had like 10 shots. But my point of view when it comes to Inter is letting them play that way, because they like to kind of...
That's how Inzaghi manages the game, right? At the end of the day, he knows he's still containing them. A lot of those shots are harmless.
Yeah, exactly. So my point is, when you see European games, like my take is that Inzaghi likes it when a team attacks, especially a Pioli team, or if you take a Barca team. So what is your take on what makes Inter so unique when it comes to Champions League? Because if now, I think that season Inter went under the radar when they went the Champions League final. But now a lot of pundits are putting Inter either in the finals or the semi-finals.
Definitely one of the favorites.
They are one of the favorites, top 3 favorites. No, but we knew that when I'm talking about like some Prem managers doing that. So would you like that going under the radar only, right? Or do you like to be like, people know about Inter, oh we are worried about Inter, you know, this and that. So what makes him so unique is, let's talk about Inzaghi and how he sets, you know better than anyone. So for me, by the way, I just before, like on record, I think Barella is probably one of the most gifted midfielders in the world, not just in Italy. Barella and Bastoni are just and my another, of course, second question is Kubarsi better than Bastoni?
Oh god.
Just this little joke. But what makes Inzaghi's Inter so different? Or as a fan, are you worried when you face a Prem team? You're not worried, right? What makes him so different that he can manage different teams? Tactically or something?
I think it's, this season I think is actually the players more than Inzaghi. You can tell them more concentrated in the Champions League. It feels like they won the Scudetto last year, and a few of them have said it. I think they want revenge for that Champions League final. Like, they feel like, you know, they are underrated, but they internally seems like they know they can go and win the Champions League, which I think is true. Like, the level of the teams around the world at the moment isn't like, there's no super team right now. Maybe Real Madrid, but there's no like team that you face like, oh my god, like peak Chelsea or peak Barcelona. Yeah, this.
No, but my point, I think Real Madrid, I feel Real Madrid more than the players is just the way they are. It's just Real Madrid DNA. You can't beat a Real Madrid.
Majesty. But my point is they're always perennial favorites.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like
so and luckily for you, it's on the other side of the draw. So the draw you are on,
yeah.
probably a Leverkusen or a Bayern. It looks like Leverkusen, Bayern, and then a Barca or a Benfica. So would you keep yourself in your head like, okay, semi-final should be the minimum?
Yeah, I think.
Don't underplay it.
No. Like, it's looking realistic because Vincent Kompany's Bayern. If we go further,
you're still contemplating whether you're going to get.
Yeah, no, you can't be too overconfident.
I want to see HRB versus Kane. That'll be a good battle.
Yeah, I mean, Cherby, he's pocketed many strikers.
Yeah.
No. But I think more than Inzaghi, I think the players seem like they want the Champions League more this year, which is frustrating because we can see in the Serie A we can see so many silly goals. Like the record you mentioned, 1 goal conceded in Champions League, but then in Serie A, I think Juve have a better defense, Napoli have a better defense. I think someone else even maybe have the joint defense with Inter. So we can see a lot of sillier goals in Serie A. You can tell they're just not as switched on.
I feel like the concentration levels are very different when you're in Europe. And I think also that's proportionate to hunger.
Yeah.
Has to be.
Yeah.
By the way, do you remember what Mkhitaryan said after the Juve loss? I think he was we were the best team or something. Mkhitaryan had some statement.
Well, yeah, so we beat Monaco 3-0 and he said, siamo ingiocabili, which means like we are unplayable.
Yeah, unplayable, yeah.
So we were all like, bro, chill.
So my point is this is again another thing, right? The way they played against Manchester City, outstanding. I think that game was amazing.
I watched that game live.
Oh, wow. I think probably for me, past few seasons, I think it was a tactical masterclass. The way they moved out. Zielinski, the way he got out of that penalty area and went on the other side in like 10 seconds. So, the game against Arsenal.
Yeah.
Okay, amazing. Okay, Monaco. I think Leverkusen was just a one-off game. I think probably.
But I don't think we played that well actually in Europe. Like,
I think the worst game was Young Boys.
Oh yeah.
The worst game for Inter was Young Boys. But I guess again in your head you like Young Boys, we got to beat.
Yeah. But that's a very Italian mentality, Italian club mentality thing, right? Like
the bunch of favorite.
You're always switched on when you know you're going up against someone who can beat you, as against on paper you know you're going to win this game. You're just completely.
Remember when the old lady couldn't master bait?
I remember. I've not forgotten.
So my point is that kind of there's a sense of arrogance when it comes to the league.
A little bit, yeah.
Because the Juve loss, I could see the players each were visibly shaking. Like, how did we lose this game?
Yeah.
Because even the previous game 4-4,
that should have felt like a loss as well.
It did.
Because that should have been, that game was dead and buried.
Yeah, Inter should have ran away with it. They should have scored more.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Champions League, we would have seen that out, but somehow we concede.
But when you see those moments, you kind of also realize that, Rahul, this team is beatable. It's just that they need that humility and concentration to play the patterns that Inzaghi has implemented, which is, it's like, to your point, it comes through in the Champions League night very flawlessly and effortlessly. And I don't know why we're not seeing it in the league. We're seeing it on and off.
But my point is again, Deej, that kind of arrogance, Rahul, how do you contain that? How do you stop that? Because now that you're on the latter end of the league too, right? You're fighting with Napoli. You guys got to. For me, I'm very surprised Inter haven't ran away with this.
Yeah.
That Fiorentina loss, heavy. Napoli have been dropping points. I think 3 draws and 1 loss. So it's
just track when Yogesh has been inactive. That's
So it's not that you've not got a chance to run away with the league. And ideally, we predicted Inter. I still feel Inter might win the league. That's later on. But you should have been running away so you could have rested players. So that kind of sense of arrogance, Rahul, how do you kind of contain that? Is that Inzaghi? That should be Inzaghi's job, right? To kind of
I guess to a certain degree, but it's also like you guys mentioned the squad maybe refresh. Like last year, we actually had a big refresh last year when we won the Scudetto. Like you had guys like, I think we had 10 signings last year. Not maybe starters, but they were like Frastesi coming in, hungry, Bisek, Thuram was new. Like there was a lot of fresh guys coming in with hunger. Maybe this year, like as I said, they won the Scudetto. It doesn't seem like they really want to do the back-to-back, or they can feel like they can do it in third gear.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe Inzaghi, but at the end of the day, like this is his 4th year. I've seen sometimes it's the players, man. Like these modern players, sometimes it just feels like Milan, like it just you guys won the Scudetto, you thought these guys are going to be hungry to do more, but they seem to be kind of content.
I think they're done. I think it's just this, as you said, perfect word. The mentality. You won, and they think they're bigger than the club. Oh, I'm a champion. You know.
Yeah.
I guess that kind of is seeping through a lot of young players this season.
But again, I feel like that is somewhere on the management to kind of manage this correctly, because statistically, if I'm not mistaken, the last team to have won a league back-to-back was Juve. So from that time, if you see, we've had so many different Scudetto winners. A lot of that comes down to either lack of continuity in the management or the ownership. It's no coincidence.
Inzaghi said this specifically at the start of the year, that the toughest challenge is going to be back-to-back. He said it, right?
Yeah, because he used you guys as an example. He said, see what Milan did after they won, see what Napoli did after
exactly.
they won.
So I think he's there, but what I feel he's saying is sometimes when the players go with that sense of arrogance on the pitch against a Monza. I remember that game against Monza. They scored in the 80th minute and then you guys just woke up and scored an equalizer.
They think they can sleepwalk through wins.
Yeah, against smaller teams. And even against Juventus, the first leg, a 4-2 lead, the number of misses Lautaro had, I feel they thought the game is done. And of course, kudos to Juventus with that mentality of just going in, And that is why I have so much respect for these old school players, especially Chiellini. I read his interview recently somewhere where he said that to get up every morning to win another title, that hunger, that celebration, it takes an effort. And he, as a leader, my point what I'm getting to is, said that he and Bonucci were kind of responsible to drive these young players forward. Okay. So now tell me, Rahul, in your team, like Mkhitaryan being a senior guy made this statement. Yeah, so tell me one thing, who is that Chiellini in your team who's going to drive this team forward? Okay, oh guys, we need to defend this side, because let me be honest, however great Barella is, does not seem to be like a leader. Like a Theo.
Yeah.
Theo is a great player, but not a leader. He's not going to rile this team forward. Barella doesn't look like that.
Barella is a very silent leader. He contains his role too within himself. I will do my role right.
Yeah.
And I'll maybe do your role as well. But in terms of temperament to carry a team,
I think
he feels. It seems to be. I feel I see glimpse of it in Bastoni.
I was just going, Bastoni has it, but now, he still has that young defender tag. Yeah. Because in Italy, they call Locatelli a youngster. I think people are youngsters.
25-26 is youngster.
Yeah, so that is the thing. So my point, I was getting there only, thanks for getting that out. It's the time for Bastoni. He looks like a leader. He does now. With Bonucci gone, with the Italian defense, he is going to be the most experienced Italian defender too.
By default.
With Calafiori and with Buongiorno, he will be the most experienced defender. Who do you see him as that leader to rile this team forward? Because eventually the core group might remain the same. And now people know about Bastoni. Everyone talks about Bastoni being a world-class defender. So now, does he need to shake that I'm a youngster, kind of growing, upcoming defender?
Yeah, but I feel like you either have it or you don't. Like Chiellini was like that from when he was probably a baby. Bastoni is reserved character. It should be Lautaro is the captain. He should be the one.
I was just going to come to that. Lautaro needs to carry.
But I don't know. Yeah, with due respect to the Argentine class, their temperament is not that of leaders.
Plus, I've seen him drooping shoulders during the game. He's yelling at.
I saw his reaction.
But Barella's way worse than that. He's he's always.
The Supercopa game, I'm surprised he kept on fighting for that penalty call and he got subbed off. But again, I agree. So if not Lautaro, at times it doesn't even need to be a very well-known player. Like I remember when Milan, all these legends retired, Ambrosini was the captain and he was a silent guy, right? Ambrosini.
But I think there's just a different era now of footballers. You just don't have those type of characters.
But anyone else do you see in this team? It can be a Jan Sommer, someone like.
It could be a Sommer, but
it's like even like Benji Pavard. This guy's a World Cup winner, Champions League winner, but he's not like the leader that's going to drive you.
He's not a Philippe Lahm.
Yeah. So I just don't think those kind of characters really. There's too many of those.
This gets me to a topic.
But guys, also it's a function of how much they win, right? Like that also seasons you as a leader.
Could be. But I see a bit of drive and a bit of this year the mentality shift in Denzel Dumfries. I know that he is quite debated in Inter.
I see it a little bit more in Thuram.
In Thuram as well.
I see it like
in Thuram as well. You're right.
I think even DeMarco. I think DeMarco has taken up that notch.
But he's not. Again, he's not a guy who influences.
He's more like a symbolic. He grew up as an Interista.
Yeah, he won't stop running. He'll do his bit, but I don't think he can carry the team. You know what I mean? Like.
Maybe, but so
it's also function.
But who was it for Napoli? Like in the Scudetto winning season, Di Lorenzo is not really that type of captain.
Yeah.
For Milan, I don't really see those.
No, but see, exactly.
Arsenal's captain is Odegaard.
Listen, but that's the reason why these guys just won one Scudetto and couldn't reenact or recreate the whole.
Which is why it's going to be defining for Inter, because if they don't win the Scudetto this season, it is down to that.
Yeah.
And that is why you're returning after 4.5, 5 seasons with one Scudetti.
So for me, that will be Inter losing the Scudetto, not Napoli winning it.
It's Inter's to lose. I think that's common.
But again, getting to not just Inter perspective, Deej, tell me in this world football, you don't have these leaders anymore, right?
Dude,
like I don't see, not just Inter. Let's put our teams out there.
Yeah, that's Odegaard for Arsenal. He's the captain. He's not.
Yeah,
Lorenzo Pellegrini. Love the boy, but not captain.
Again, guys, don't you think so much of it is down to the amount of money that's flowing within the system, where as a player, that becomes your priority, and then you have no sense of loyalty to the club and team that you play for. You realize that you're just a commodity. You're going to be traded no matter how good or bad you have as a season. Your agent's going to come and fill your ears and say, listen, I've got you like a 20% increment, at this club, playing in England. I've never seen, in the 90s growing up to early 2000s, to Rahul's point, those guys were born leaders because their priorities were correct.
Yeah.
Today I think it's a mishmash of priorities, given also the fact that somewhere in Italy specifically, you don't have so much money in the system. So you're always looking for a better opportunity. You don't think you're going to be at Inter for 5 years.
But then again, that's again not about a player, right? It's about down to, like, take for example, if Inter are in a good condition right now, but like Tonali wanted to be in Milan, they had to sell him. So it's just down to the club. Even if the guy commits himself to Milan, and he still talks about Milan all the time. And even if I could see him as a leader, probably one of the very few guys who has that leadership quality in him, that grinta, what you call it. Again, but Deej, even if a player is like that, they still don't know whether they're going to stay here. Right? So even if it's in the player, he might take a wage cut. I know this guy might take a wage cut to be in Milan, Sandro Tonali. But what if Milan wants to sell him? Because it's just this whole cycle of this money ball system which is started.
It's very unfortunate.
Which is infecting all the Italian clubs. Because I just read a very interesting article where the Milan Curva have been talking about Americanization of this whole sport, right? Because it's a business. There's no fan value involved in this.
Especially in Italy, because again, the Italian system always caters to the US, first and foremost. They don't look at the East.
No.
They don't, because for them, the Italian-American system is where really money comes from. Italians in general will go where there's sponsorship or where there is viewership. So it's America or it's the Middle East. There is nothing else in between. Which is, I think, again a function of the kind of coaches that are coming into the system. We had like coaches coming through year on year. Now you look at it happening in Germany, you don't see it with the same frequency in Italy. So it's really hard, I think, also to create coaches that create leaders. If you remember the Marcello Lippi squad, the amount of coaches that came through just that team.
The coaching tree.
Deschamps, taking in from a legendary coach like that. Where is that going to happen in today's game? You're just not going to see it. Like,
I mean, Juve are a perfect example. How many captains have you had this season?
No, crazy. But I think a lot of that is down to Motta's mismanagement in terms of just confusion.
But again, that's like the modern style of management, right? Arteta, they used to have like how many different captains?
Absolutely.
Can we, since you mentioned Lippi, can we quickly segue into the 2006 World Cup? Because Rahul did mention that he's an Azzurri fan. Obviously, he was in Italy in 2006.
I think all of us are.
Yeah, we are. So, we were in India, and of course, we are all diehard Azzurri fans.
So actually, I moved to UK that summer.
Oh, that summer. Oh, okay. Barring Param, who is a
French fan.
He's a French. So we are all Azzurri fans.
You need to ban him. Can't be.
Does he like snails, maybe?
So, 2006, what were your memories, with, obviously, since you say that, you feel Italian, you have an Italian passport. 2006, you saw possibly, our generation of superstars that we grew up to.
Idolizing.
Idolizing,
100%.
yeah.
And that team was stacked. And even the 4 years prior,
Yeah.
that team was
I
stacked.
think 2002 was. I think the 2000
Was the
Euros.
greatest.
That was the best.
I think 2000.
2011,
Yeah, 2000
yeah.
Euros
Yeah,
was.
2000, 2002. You know, but
Yeah.
we Azuri did not
Those
win.
guys were artists in every position. I mean, I haven't seen that in any national team.
I feel they underachieved. Like as a
Oh,
national
yeah,
team.
yeah.
100%, 100%.
But that 2000.
2006, man. 2006 was the culmination of.
Yeah, but 2000 really hurt.
That
It
hurt.
really hurt. I mean, it was very hard for me to take to Trezeguet when we signed him
Trezeguet.
in that summer.
Yeah,
But it really hurt.
But then Trezeguet give it back. You know,
Karma.
Trezeguet was-
Yeah, he did, no doubt.
So, but as a Azzurri fan, what was it like? It was because again no one put Italy in the one of
in
the
the favorites.
Yeah, they weren't. No,
Apart from us.
Yeah.
no, it was like, yeah, so I was in England, so I was watching, obviously, the whole family I was there with, they all supported England. So I was following the England journey and the Italy journey, you know. England as well, you could say they had a stacked team, you know, they always talk about, you know, underachievers, golden generation, they call it. But yeah, when you actually put it on paper against the teams, that France team, that Italy team, it was like just amazing watching them. Obviously the games weren't as entertaining, the Italy ones, that was proper Italian style of play,
Yeah.
you know, just getting the job done.
I still remember the USA game, man. That was
The way that the Rossi
Yeah.
was
The
like,
Rossi game, the
I was like, who the hell is this mad guy?
okay, before we get there, one question about that World Cup, Australian game, penalty or no penalty?
That was a dive.
I'm of that opinion too. I
Penalty.
think I think it was-
Penalty.
I think it was a
Clear
dive.
penalty.
No, I'm saying it's a dive, but it is a penalty.
Also, guys, we didn't have VAR at the time. A,
Yeah.
and B, you're seeing it real time, right?
No, I feel had it been
like
like that would have been given.
Yeah. In the modern day.
But that's what I'm saying. Is also you have to credit the referee. It was at an angle, right? You could misread that from any position. From whatever we were seeing on TV, that was a penalty. Real time, 100% penalty.
Yeah, in real time,
100%.
when you see
When
the
you
slow
slow it
motion,
down, yeah.
100%.
By the way, the Malouda, when Malouda won the penalty, that was a dive in the final. Clear dive.
Yeah.
There was no contact from Materazzi.
No, but
whatsoever.
that's what, right? Karma, I mean,
Yeah.
leveled it out, and
Yeah.
what had to happen happened. So
Yeah. So continue. Sorry, I just wanted because I feel a lot of people. If I had been a referee, guys, I don't think I would have given any penalty. Half the time you guys see me on the group, not a penalty, because I feel penalties usually slow the game. Like it has to be a clear cut foul for me.
it's too much of a reward, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So I think we don't, because however, whatever I play as a defender, and I feel defenders get penalized very easily for a small, and that's why they're now not going in for that tackle, because strikers know how to win that foul and get that penalty. So I'm a bit cynic when it comes to all these things. But yeah, go ahead. You're talking about the World Cup and the FIFA.
No, yeah, no, I was saying like it didn't seem like we were like one of the favorites. Like it started off like, you know, just stumbling through the group stage, but then after the knockouts, then it was like, yeah, the Australia one, and then you start to like, you look at the other
Really
team,
believe, yeah.
and it was I think Germany was the one we were like, they're the home team.
Yeah.
100%.
It was like
And the way the press was building it up,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Italy's going back home, you know, it was a given.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in general, growing up in Italy, the Italian fan base is actually very like damaged. They're all quite actually negative around the Italian national team. They're all like, you know, that's as far as we'll go. So I don't think there was actually that much belief that we'll do it. But yeah, then it was just the Del Piero goal, you know, the extra time. The more than the final, that semi-final
Yeah,
is
semi-final
the
was-
iconic.
It's iconic.
Yeah.
Dude,
That Grosso moment, man, that Pirlo pass, the Grosso moment.
And Cannavaro
Cannavaro,
performance,
oh my
that's
God.
like, you know, put it up in a
Beast.
museum.
I think
somewhere.
that itself won in the Ballon d'Or,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that to get that ball forward, and what was the Del Piero finish? His body angle. Come on,
And
like-
Gilardino's never made a pass in his life.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, dude. But
It's just
exactly
super
like
stuff.
to see Del Piero's goal, if you just pause it, I've done that before. I've paused it. Look at his body. He still opened himself up and goal.
Yeah,
Like, stop corner.
his ankle is like bent.
Just-
Yeah, I was like,
Man.
dude, that is
Man.
inhuman. That was
Man.
Del Piero, and that Del Piero wasn't like a starter. Like, you know.
That's the crazy thing. That he wasn't a starter.
And you had people sitting on the bench too, like crazy team, like. So I'm just saying that you're right. I think that Cannavaro won in the Ballon d'Or. That German.
100%, very deserved. Very deserved, not up for debate.
No chance. I think there are a lot of debates about all these things, but I feel defenders don't get their due. I feel.
No, 100%. But you know, it was really good to see somebody who doesn't play forward to actually win the Ballon.
Yeah.
It looked very fair on paper. You saw it in performances. and the World Cup was a great stage.
Alright, gents, now since we have you two, we need to speak about the Derby d'Italia. Rahul has already mentioned that for him, it's Juve and not Milan who are his eternal rivals. So, just a bit of, what does the Derby d'Italia mean to you, Rahul, as an Interista before I come to DJ?
Pure hatred. That's what it means. It's just, years and years of back and forth and controversies. It's just, it's hard to explain because it's just build up, like DJ knows, it's just so many years, even though we're not in the same city, Torino's not that far from Milan, but it's some of the players that we've had from them or they took from us, and some of we took Beppe Marotta from them. It's just like there's always something in the background, even when Inter weren't that good. It still was the Derby d'Italia, when we managed to beat them at the Allianz, the first team that beat them there. But in general, I have to admit, they do own that fixture historically, so that's why probably I hate them as well, because it just always feels like we can't get, even now that they're not that good as a team, we should be dominating them and we're still not beating them, so it's,
What are your thoughts on Thiago Motta? I mean, I know a lot of Interisti have their opinion divided. I know that he was part of a treble winning team, but is he a legend? I mean, when he chose to manage Juve.
No, I've spoken about that. So he's part of a legendary team, but he's not Inter-legend because he was only there for like 2 years. I think you have to be somewhere for a while to be a legend. But no, he was one of my favorite players growing up. I've always liked the regista position or those types of players, technical players. I think you also appreciate those types of players. So I liked him, and as a coach, I really like what he did at Bologna. And if I also used to say, if we sack Inzaghi, I was looking out for Thiago Motta as potential for Inter. But I've not been really convinced with his work at Juve. Now they're in a better position in the league, but after they've lost every other competition. He's definitely got some growing to do. But I put him there as definitely one of the best up-and-coming coaches in world football at the moment.
DJ, before I get to you, a question to both of you. Is the Derby d'Italia bigger than the El Clasico?
Worldwide, no. I have to be real, but I think as a rivalry, I think it's...
Is it more of a heated rivalry than the El Clasico?
I think it depends when you look at it. Barcelona, Real Madrid, I think they dominate the leagues so much more consistently, whereas I think Juve have dominated more, but Inter have been so up and down over the years. But I think that gives it the edge for me, that it doesn't matter where Juve or Inter are, and it's still felt. Whereas I think it does matter whether Real Madrid or Barcelona, where they are in the league. Personally, I don't know.
Fair.
I feel like it's the passion that defines the Derby d'Italia, and I think with the Classico, I think it really is very defined by the talent. And I think over the years that kind of has the precedence, because you've had the Ronaldos and the Messis and both prime Madrid and prime Barca have played that very recently, so it just became such a well-documented derby that it overshadowed everything.
Mourinho, Guardiola,
everything. The cream of the crop when it came to the coaches, etc., etc. Juve Inter have not had that in recent seasons, but the passion has always been very defining. With regard to the rivalry, I think for me, very clearly, as a Juve fan, there's a lot of respect for Milan because of everything they've achieved, and I think even in the prime years, really, there was a lot of significance in the relationship between the owners, and I think they had that old school kind of thing. Moratti just for me, didn't have that finesse, and he's a very eccentric character, and I think unfortunately made very poor decisions along the way where we just laughed, which is unfortunate. But seeing Inter try over the years, going from Moratti to Marotta, eventually they did need the Juventus. They needed that, and to steady the ship. It was really Conte that really broke everything for them and help them break through. And he was never going to be a guy who's going to hang around. He's a Juve legend at large. They've tried it over the years with Lippi, Gasperini. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out. But I feel like Inter's always used Juve as a reference point, and no harm, right? Like because at the end of the day, in Italy, Juve does dominate, and it is just it's the way they're wired from the ownership. Longest serving ownership, I think, so that DNA has just, the wiring has been the same over the years. As a rivalry per se, like Rahul said, what happened eventually was Inter were very inconsistent for long periods and Juve were far more consistent. So it wasn't really a rivalry that you'd consider and be like, oh shit man, this is the game coming up, mark your calendars. It was always, for me personally, I only took interest when I saw that Inter was performing at a certain level. Yes, there is passion, but you take a lot more interest when you know it's going to be a performance-oriented game, Inter, when they were down, could not really fight Juve when Juve were dominating, and I feel like, on the contrary, when Juve have been down, they've still been able to fight a very strong Inter over the years. So that for me has been very defining. In terms of defining moments as a fan, I'm going to ask Rahul this as well. From Marathi to Marotta, what are the key defining moments for you in that rivalry over the years, from a point of ownership, from a point of the cycle, between the two clubs, and then maybe I would like to answer that as well for myself.
Yeah, I think the one that comes to mind, the defining maybe change of guard, was that, again, another Juve guy, Arturo Vidal, when he scored that goal in the derby and the Conte. That was like, I think that was the game where I started like, yeah, we're going to win the Scudetto this season. I think, was it the Pirlo year that way? Yeah.
Correct.
So that's, even though Vidal was finished when we signed him, but again, it's just like another Juve guy, I guess.
But how did you feel about that? How did you feel that, like, again, you've got like a Juve, I don't know if he's a legend really, but he's up there,
And if you remember before the game, he was caught, like, he was hugging Chiellini and he kissed the badge, but
correct.
Which I think was just like, by mistake, but it also like represented, because I think he has a Juve tattoo, Vidal as well.
Yeah.
But I always love Vidal, so I love
Great player, of course.
Yeah. No, it was like when we signed him, it was like, oh, another Juve guy. Like, it does feel a bit dirty when you keep signing Juve guys. But it was like, that was, I think, the changing of guard. And then since then, we've like become the best team in Italy, I think, consistently. But as you said, it just seems like we can't get the monkey off our back whenever we play you guys. Like this season, I think this is could be defining the loss that we had against you guys.
The change of guard again in terms of transition.
Yeah,
possibly.
Yeah, those are the two that come to mind, because we haven't, unfortunately or fortunately, we haven't faced each other in Europe like we faced Milan.
Yeah,
I think that could be a big one if we end up facing each other in Europe.
Correct. That could have happened.
It could have happened.
I wanted it because
you hadn't dropped the ball. Yeah, 100%. Well, so for me, I think over the years, R9 was very defining. I was coming into football as a fan, but unfortunately, Baggio really caught my eye, and for Italy first in Italia 90, and then seeing him at Juve was amazing. But then it was really, funnily enough, the reason I wore this jersey is because this is the jersey that made me start really following them. And, oh, what a cool kid, and then you started understanding the players, and then seeing a prime Del Piero. If you've seen, to me, Del Piero was probably the closest thing to R9, and unfortunately the injury came through, and then R9 was just by himself, and Del Piero was in the shadows for a little bit. But I think that those mid-90s for me was more Milan at the start of the decade, Juve in the middle, and then it took a little time, and that's when I felt like I was curious about Inter in terms of what will they achieve because of R9. But I always felt like Marathi was making a lot of eccentric decisions.
Yeah.
So it's very hard for them to be consistent in that time, and that's why, like, in the rivalry, the moments that were defining were like 5th May, for example. You really, even as a Juve fan, I didn't believe it. I thought that Inter's going to get this over the line. Thank you, Anubhuti, for that, and Pavoski. But I really thought that was it. And then we're seeing this because we didn't really get these live relays, right? You're seeing these Italian shows on Rai. There's a channel called Rai, and I'm following, the match live in terms of, okay, this update. and then I see Ronaldo sitting like that, and Hector Cooper throwing his cigarette on the ground and you know, stomping off. Very vivid memories. And then of course, over the years, in more recent times, what happened under Allegri in the 19th season, was it? When we won last minute with Higuain?
Oh yeah, but the Spalletti subbed in Santon and
that one. That was 2019, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
I think that was again a very defining moment also in the race.
Yeah.
And I felt like Inter collapsed mentally again.
Yeah.
That to me is just like a psychological reference point. You know, like how you have an elder brother.
Yeah.
And he's always got like one up on you.
The chip on the shoulder, you know.
And you know it at the back of your mind.
Yeah.
I feel like Inter have always had that with Juve. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't mean to dig in. I'm just saying it from a point of view of you've got a very large sample set in terms of performances over the years.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like this one time when Inter have this little cycle and they've got Marotta running it, you know, if they don't capitalize on this, it can very quickly fall back. Given the Suning and the Zhang era, given the constant change of ownership, this is a very important period in their cycle to consolidate.
Yeah.
You know,
Go away from the Pazza Inter image, you know, which
the Pazza Inter, absolutely. And I think that's why. So as a Juve fan, it's never been, you know, hatred is too strong a word for me as a human being, but of course there's a rivalry. There is, as a fan, I respect Milan more for whatever they've achieved. I've also seen that more as a level ki takkar, so to speak, because of also their great achievements in Europe. Inter's also done very well in Europe, but my point being that everything in the Scudetto context, we've just not seen that consistency from Inter to feel like we hate them because they're a reference point, you know. So that's what has been my journey in that rivalry, and I think that you know, due credit that when they've got it right, they've really got it right. Like what they achieved with Mourinho, but again, it's very short stints, you know. You have a treble and then suddenly banter. It can't be like that. You have to keep building, and there has to be progress. Which is why I'm saying, like, what they've done with Inzaghi right now, okay, sporadic, one Scudetto. This Champions League is really important. I don't care if they get the treble or not, but if they get the Champions League, there is again a reference point to build. You know, but you win nothing this year, then really there is, you know, again, cat among the pigeons. Where do we go from here? Are we in the right direction, etc., etc. You know, so that is really my journey, you know, as a fan in this.
One game to both of you, one favorite derby that that top of the head right now, if I ask you.
There are too many, man. But
one. Just
the recent, I think the 4-all was spectacular. We're legit, we're a bunch of youngsters, youngest or second youngest team in the league, playing against the most seasoned team in the league, away from home. There's no way you should be recovering from 4-2. No way.
I think that's the first time I saw Motta celebrating, you know.
No, and I love Motta's celebration in this win, the one love. But I think there was also in recent memory, Rahul, I don't know if you remember the one when Ferrara was coaching Juve, and we were kind of slipping. You know, we had a very bad season.
banter era,
Thankfully it didn't last very long, but we won that game, if I'm not mistaken. Was it Marquisio goal?
when he went past the...
that was a beautiful goal, if you remember it. I think that was also an amazing goal, and then the Motta Buffon fight.
He
caught him by the neck. That was mad. That was absolutely insane. So I think those moments are all very vivid and clear, and then under Allegri, what we did to come back and win it at the death, again, defining in the Scudetto race, to turn that around.
What about you, Rahul? Your favorite?
I mean, the Vidal one I mentioned earlier for the winning the Scudetto that year. But then in the banter era, I enjoyed because as I said, we'd barely beat these guys. So even there was one where Perisic scored. It was like Frank de Boer, you know, as Mourinho said, the worst coach in history.
Correct.
We beat. I think that was Allegri's Juve Perisic goal. And then the one that I said, the one where we beat them at the Allianz Stadium, Rodrigo Palacio scored.
When the streak was broken.
I think it's 3-1.
It was a early goal by Inter at first, or was it Juve? Vidal had scored.
Vidal scored. It was offside. Offside, and then I think it was Milito penalty, and then Palacio finished it off. That was a bad Inter team, but we turned out with it was a 3-4-3. Cassano, Milito, Palacio. It was like wow, going to the Allianz with the 3-4-3. It was Stramaccioni.
Stramaccioni, correct. No, which is why you see that, right? How can you go from a Mourinho
to a Stramaccioni?
It's just crazy. Pazza.
Pazza.
So I think that is like a very definitive Inter, but one great strikers, man. Look at their nines, like mad. Do you have any regrets about Adriano?
Oh yeah, of course. He was even at Roma
for 6 months.
He was filling out the kit very nicely.
Pretty much.
No, yeah, he was growing up. Like I said, R9, Vieri was like, that was early memories, but then Adriano was like, as I was getting, older, really understanding football, he was like, yeah, he had everything. Pace, power, dribbling, it was the full package. But then he only really put it together for maybe one season, we can say. One real good season, I think it was like 2004-05 or the one before that. After that, it was just flashes, and then afterwards it was just, the sad story, unfortunately, of his father passing away and everything. So
I think both him and Cassano really didn't live up to the bill.
He was just crazy. He's just pagal.
Adriano, obviously with much respect, but Cassano, he dug his own grave. But since Chintan is not here, Zlatan at Juve or Zlatan at Inter?
Zlatan at Inter, definitely.
Yeah. I think Zlatan at Inter was, the time that he came to Inter, it changed their trajectory. There was a very weak Juve at the time. But the Zlatan at Juve was very special. If you caught glimpses of him, he benched Del Piero.
So Capello preferred him over Del Piero.
So he was a very special player. It's just that unfortunately he didn't get as much time at Juve, and I feel like he's a bit of a merchant, because you see the story of how he pushed for the Inter move and then from there went on further.
He needed polishing, like Capello said, he put him on those shooting practices.
Those Van Basten videos. And I think you started to see that quality in him, and I think that really happened at Inter where a lot of that learning was applied.
Especially that season where Spalletti came second and Inter won the Scudetto, it was because of Zlatan. Zlatan single-handedly, he was a star.
But he had an understanding of the league, no? He had figured out the defenders, he learned the tricks of the trade at Juve, and I think he really came to the fore in that Inter team, and I think that Inter team started to build very beautifully in that time. So
I think we can move on to the next segment, gents. Alright, so Chintan Mehta has been substituted for Anubhuti, the Laziale, who's joined us for the first time.
Women's Day special.
On a Women's Day special, nonetheless. So kudos. Rahul had mentioned that we found a unicorn, a Lazio fan in India. So remarkable that we have in India we do have a lot of Serie A fans. There's a common misconception that they're only Premier League or La Liga fans, but I think we're quite old now. We're millennials, so we watched our teams. The only Gen Z is DJ. But moving on, to the next segment, and this is a bit of self-inflicted pain because we're going to be talking about the Jose Mourinho treble season with Rahul, and of course the team that finished as the eternal bridesmaid were Roma, sadly. But Rahul, man, Mourinho coming in after his time at Chelsea, not a great year one. You guys did win the league, but that was customary now. I think you guys lost to Man United in the Champions League that year, and Moratti wanted that. I mean, the whole reason of hiring Mourinho was to get that the Champions League trophy. 38 odd years since you guys had won it previously. So year two with Mourinho, what were your thoughts? You were in the UK then, what were your thoughts in that year of Jose and what it means for you after all these years?
Yeah, no, that was the expectation with Jose. Like, I wasn't a big fan of him at Chelsea, so I was a little bit mixed when we signed him. Mancini did great, but then Europe, we were just always stumbling. So we thought Mourinho was going to come in and change things, but it didn't really seem like that. We went to Old Trafford with Adriano and Zlatan up front. So on paper, you feel like, that Man United team, ended up winning it, I think, that year, right? Yeah. So it was still a good team, but you feel like there was something missing in Europe. And then the summer, we spoke about Zlatan. Zlatan leaves, that Barcelona deal, Eto'o coming in. I'm a massive Samuel Eto'o fan, so I was really happy, but also still Zlatan was our guy.
Yeah.
But the thing with Zlatan is, in Europe.
Yeah. True.
So, and that was proven as well afterwards with when Samuel Eto'o came in. but it wasn't sure like what formation was he going to play, 4-2-3-1, 4-3-1-2. But that was our strength. And then, but there was that missing link, which was this number 10. The missing piece was Wesley Sneijder.
Sneijder, of course.
And then the way he signed, signed him day after he played in the Milan derby, without any training session, almost scored a goal from halfway line. It was like, wow, okay, I think now we can cook. We signed Lucio, Sneijder, Eto'o. Then in the winter we signed Pandev. But still in the Europe, they had some big juggernauts like that Barcelona team.
Yeah.
Whenever anyone played that Barcelona team, it was like, how many goals are we going to concede? Or can we get a draw? You never thought that you're going to win, but we beat Chelsea, we beat Barcelona. The way we just about survived in that second, that second leg. Even though we lost, it felt like a win. That was the first time I lost the game and I was celebrating.
Mourinho said it himself. It's his favorite loss ever,
And him running around the field with the sprinklers coming on, iconic. And then that's it. Then afterwards it was like Bayern Munich. That's it. It was easy work.
How good was Diego Milito though? Fantastic striker. Doesn't get his due flowers.
I also think that's because Sneijder really overshadowed him in terms of, I don't know, I felt personally, I feel like he was Mourinho's peg really, more than Vinicius, more so at least in my view. And I when I looked at that Inter team on paper, it didn't look like a treble winning team.
No.
So really kudos to Mourinho for the work that he did, and I think the workmanship, the work ethic of that team was a big differentiator, across the 3 tournaments.
Look, I remember in the Serie A title race, this is the self-inflicted pain that I'm talking about. So Inter were very inconsistent. So there was a time when Inter almost crashed out of the Champions League group stages and were drawing games that Inter should have won. I think Inter lost to Chievo in between. Was it Chievo? With a shocking loss. So basically, Mourinho still was trying to figure out his best formation.
Correct.
Like you mentioned, DJ. Eventually he settled down to that back four with Zanetti left back, Lucio, Walter Samuel, Maicon, of course, Cambiaso, Thiago Motta, Schneider in that hole, Eto'o, Milito. So once that came in Europe the results were good because Chelsea, beating Chelsea home and away, fantastic. I think the Inter beat Chelsea away at Stamford Bridge. So incredible achievement. But in the league, you guys are still floundering. The results were not up there. And then comes Roma-Inter, direct head-to-head clash, and Inter going in as favourites. Ranieri's Roma on a resurgence. So this is Spalletti. Spalletti. I think he left in December or November, and that's when Ranieri comes in. And no one expects Roma to go on this run. And then suddenly Roma are challenging, that game. When Roma won that game, I felt that this was Roma's Scudetto title. A lot of Interisti also felt that because I think at that time you guys were gunning for the Champions League. That was a year. So my question to you is, did you at that point feel that, we'll probably try to win the Champions League first and not care? Did you think at that time that Inter are going to win the treble, win the lot?
No. That wasn't. I didn't even think about that. But it was one of those things, like you said, like the squad. I mean, now you look at it, the names are like, you think stacked. But again, average age was 30, 31. Again, every lineup was, quite old. But I think back then, even though it's only about 15 years ago, football was a little bit less athletic, a little bit less physical. So I think we got away with it, much more positional, much more tactical. But then, it's those like, that's Pandev. It didn't seem like a big signing in January, but actually made such a big impact coming from Lazio.
I think he waited out. He didn't play football for 6 months because he wanted to sign on a free or something.
Exactly. So you think, this guy is going to be, rusty, not played football, but actually came in, is instant impact into the team, even scored a free kick in the Milan derby. Helped Mourinho change the formation so he could play with like 2 wingers with Eto'o on the wing and Pandev on the wing, so it gave us options. And then everyone played their role, even the backup players. There was experience in there, like Materazzi coming in. Only a few times we needed him, but when he came in, he did his job. As you said, Zanetti, you could just play him anywhere, left back, midfield.
That Maicon was a great player.
That was the best right back in the world for me. He was better than
100%.
That year. He was better than Dani Alves for me.
Absolutely.
Because he was also decent defensively. I know the Gareth Bale thing whatever.
Yeah.
But he was good defensively as well. But yeah, as you mentioned, Milito was just the big games. He turned up in all the big games.
He always turned
and then you have Eto'o as well. Balotelli coming through as a youngster. He was actually performing, coming through off the bench as well. It was just every position had 2 players, and that's what you need. When you want to win the treble, you need 2 players per position, and that's what we had.
Yeah, so 25th April 2010, I remember the date, is when Roma lost to Sampdoria, shockingly at home, and then Inter faced Lazio. And the Laziale did not help. Of course, first with the Pandev signing and that result when Inter scored, you saw a whole section of the Kurva.
Oh no! It was a very famous. It was a very famous holding. We just held up. Oh no! But we weren't really feeling oh no. Actually.
I was so crushed, so crushed. I mean, I felt that this was at least a Scudetto. The way that the whole Ranieri, the romance, and a Scudetto for De Rossi, who ended up not winning any title. Anyway, enough of self-pity. Coming to the business end of the season, so of course, going into the last day, I think Inter faced Siena in the league, which was quite nervy, and Roma were already 2-0 up in like 15-20 minutes. The game was sealed. Roma were away to Chievo. Did you feel that even now, after everything that's happened in 2002, at that time did you feel that maybe there could be a hiccup?
Yeah, because I was watching that game and it was like, Roma went up early, so you were following the live score, and it was just, and I think we took a while for us to break down. Again, it was Milito. It was like Zanetti did an amazing run, but until then we were sweating, because you know how it is when you go to these away small teams, they just sit back. You can't break them down, and it just felt like we just need something special. So I was on the edge of my chair sweating, definitely, right until the end.
Yeah. So Benito coming clutch in that title race, Benito coming clutch in the Coppa Italia final, just a single goal, and the whole Totti Balotelli incident, which I want to talk about, but nevertheless, I still remember Maicon actually giving him a high five.
Pat on the back. Good job.
Good job. So 2 titles.
Looking back, that was the right pat on the back.
Yeah, 100%. So the domestic double was now wrapped up. Now comes to the big game. Madrid Champions League finalists. So there, Bayern Munich, who are with the Rivalry duo, very formidable. Bayern. What were you feeling like when you went into the Champions League final?
No, as I
Underdogs or favorites?
No, as I said, after the Barcelona one, we were just like, that's it, that is ours. No, like honestly, we were generally Interisti are quite like a negative fan base, as I said. But like maybe
Italians
very cynical. But that Champions League final, it was like, there's no way after what we did against Barcelona that we can do it. And then Bayern team were good on paper, as you said. Robben, Ribery, like it was a solid team. They ended up winning lots of things afterwards, but it was just, we knew like our game plan. We knew Mourinho would set them up perfectly. We had faith in every single player, and then we just had Diego Milito, who was in the form of his life. It's like having peak Messi on your team. Like you just knew that season. It was just, you had the game changer in your team, and Schneider passing that ball to him.
Where were you watching the game?
At home, that one. Yeah.
And what were the scenes after? Where did you go to celebrate? It has to be your favorite moment as an Inter.
It was just me with my parents. That was year 9 in UK, like at school. Like there was no one else to like share.
Your neighbor friend? What about
he was in Italy.
This was in the UK now.
Okay,
so can't say I had no friends, but I was building my friendship group.
No, that's fine. Because when Roma won the Conference League, I was just in my car with my Roma flag, just driving with one hand and waving out the flag.
Yeah, exactly. So
people thought I was a madman at 3 a.m. But
no, me was like going into school next day. In the UK, it's like a uniform, but it's not really like that strict. So I was wearing like this white polo, but underneath it was my Inter kit. So that was that, and there was a few Barcelona fans, because even in the UK,
of course,
if you support a foreign team at the time, it was Real Madrid or Barcelona. So there was a few, ribbings I gave to some people.
Lovely, man. I mean, it has to be the treble. The treble has to be the pinnacle. As an Interista, as a fan.
But don't you guys believe like Mourinho had so much to do with it to handle that dressing room on that night?
For sure.
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
The players did their bit, but that calming influence that comes from the top, he's not out of his depth.
Yeah.
He knows what this night is like.
Yeah.
I think that had so much.
And the trickle down effect. After Mourinho very iconically, hugging Materazzi, they were crying it out.
Oh, yeah,
it
yeah.
almost felt like it was, some
Yeah,
kind
that
of
was
movie.
shocking. Yeah, like because you're there, you're celebrating, and then because you can't, because you're not in Italy, you can't follow everything like live. So you see it the day after that, Mourinho was hugging and crying with Materazzi, and you're like, oh, this guy's leaving. What the like? What's going on? Then but then now looking back, you're thinking like, he was so smart to do that because he saw that squad was declining. Moratti's money had run out.
Yeah.
So he personally made the perfect move, but it also
He had a very special relationship with Moratti.
Yeah.
He still speaks about him very fondly.
Yeah.
So that relationship, I think Mourinho is not someone who really gets along with people who
Club
employ him.
presidents.
And I think that is that one exception to the rule because he doesn't speak this fondly about anybody else.
No, we still love him, Mourinho, but I think there is still a lingering thing that he left us kind of, he could have taken us through this kind of storm maybe.
Well, you're right, Rahul. I think what he saw was correct because that squad was old.
Yeah.
And no irony, right? Like I think to win the Champions League, you need to have that certain level of experience because it comes down to in-game management as a player. So you need that amount of game time in your legs to know when I have to run, when I have to control myself.
So for me as a Romanista, I saw the 2007-2008 season under Spalletti, where Roma finished behind Inter, and now under Ranieri, tragically again finishing behind Inter. So I think a lot of my teenage and early adulthood days were completely ruined thanks to you, Rahul. But anyways, moving on to the next segment. Since we have Anubhuti here, I would really want to talk about the Inter-Lazio Brotherhood, should I call it? I mean, I don't know. There is some sort of connection between the Curva and Anubhuti just pointed out earlier, where Inter did score the unfold the banner sarcastically. Oh no! So starting with you first, Rahul, and then we'll obviously get Anubhuti's thoughts. A lot of players also have moved, and of course you have Simone Inzaghi, her favorite player by the way, as current Inter coach. Just tell us a bit about the general Interisti feeling about Lazio.
Yeah, I mean, from 2002, there was very negative feeling towards Lazio because they didn't even need to win that game. It was like pointless for them. So we were, banking on we're going to win against Lazio. So since then, and that the Brotherhood thing is between the ultras. So it's like, even me growing up in Italy, you don't really associate much with the ultras. It's like they're all, of course, they're amazing for the atmosphere and the chants and everything, all stuff like that. But you don't really, associate with them or sit with them. Like even once I had to sit with the Curva Nord in San Siro, and it's like it's a little bit, you feel on the edge on some of the some of the people there. But there is this sort of connection that we do feel sometimes that with Inter and Lazio, and it's nice to have but over the years I feel like we've taken advantage of Lazio more than they have benefited from this. The moment we mentioned earlier, the Stefan de Vrij famous Lazio Inter Champions League clinching moment. They could have gone. Maybe they could have had a completely different trajectory because without that, I don't think that Inter team would be here. Without that Champions League,
possibly.
Because that's what 40-50 million. That's completely changes your life for an Italian club. And then recently as well, it just seems like. We always get the better of Lazio most of the time. So I don't know how much of a brotherhood really it is.
Anubhuti, as a Lazio fan now, the only time where I was actually hoping that Lazio would beat Inter, that did not happen. But in general, keeping all jokes aside, what do you make of Simone Inzaghi? A bona fide Lazio legend, as a player, as a manager, seeing him achieve what he's done at Inter. What are your thoughts about Inzaghi?
Yeah, I mean, for the first feeling that happened when Inzaghi moved to Inter was obviously a lot of disappointment because I think the Ultras had actually started a campaign for Inzaghi for life, Inzaghi per sempre, that's literally what they were saying, because the last few years Inzaghi had come into Lazio and he had changed the way we played. Very honestly, the kind of motivation we had some really old coaches, like we had Eddie Rea, we had Delio Rossi, and I don't know, Giuseppe Papadopoulou, and all sorts of
real dinosaurs.
I personally thought was not a bad coach. Okay, who? Eddie Rea.
Eddie
He was not bad. He was powerful.
Delio Rossi is.
Yeah, I mean Delio.
Papadopoulou, oh my.
Purely.
Yeah.
It's still okay.
Even that Swiss guy who had come for a season, he was
Petkovic.
Yeah, exactly. So we had some really weird characters on the sidelines, and to have a genuine bona fide Laziale there changed the dynamic completely. And then I would be very honest, I have been following Simone Inzaghi since he started, like right from the first season he played. And the reason why I liked him actually was two reasons. One is that he was the top scorer in the Champions League until Lazio were there. Rahul just overtook him with the last match, or else he would have been there because of the whole 4 goals he scored against Marseille, and he was scoring against Valencia, he was scoring against everyone. So for that, and I used to primarily watch European football because I think a lot of us do not really get access to Serie A. It's it's in weird times.
We still don't, by the way.
Because you'd have you had conversation about Champions League on Sports Center and things like that, and no one ever talks about what happens in Serie A. So that's why I used to watch Europe more, and that's why I just figured out this is a fantastic player. And then I also, and this was very weird for me, because I used to see that this Inzaghi guy, sometimes he plays for Lazio, but then sometimes I see him turn up for Juventus again.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell is this? Like, when did he move? Like, this was so sad. It's only the half. In the middle of the season, he's already moved. But of course, I figured out that's his bigger brother, who also, of course, scored a lot. So that's why, at that point of time, I absolutely fell in love with him. Later on in the years that Lazio went through, of course, the bankruptcy came, everyone left, Inzaghi did not. He kind of expected probably to be the, especially in 2005, he wanted to be the main man, and Paolo Di Canio comes over and he brings a whole different, characteristic to Lazio. It's the whole going back to the
audio commenting.
Yeah.
He brings a whole other...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, things that we see in the US nowadays. So the thing is that that changed the dynamic for Inzaghi, because now it literally happened in a match where, against Atalanta actually, he was going to take the penalty, and he was the designated penalty taker, and Di Canio comes in and says that I am the prodigal son of this team, and he went ahead, he took the penalty. It was his first match back in Lazio colours, and that's where the split started, and that's when Inzaghi really fell out of favour from, you can say, the fans also to some extent, and of course the coach. And so then there was a string of, I think he went on loan to Atalanta for a half season, for Sampdoria for a half a season. But that whole period of time for me was, it was sad, because he was after all my favorite player, but also I have to support Lazio, so I supported the players who we got. Very good players at that point of time as well. I really like Bernardo Corradi, who came from Chievo.
Do you know Bernardo Corradi is a certified doctor?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, he's Dr. Corradi.
Yeah. Even Simone Inzaghi, he's a certified lawyer. Like, he did his financial law even before he he started scoring for Piacenza. So he started scoring, he became big when he was 25. Back then, I think people started a little later than...
Not in Italy. In Italy, 25 is youngster.
Yeah, exactly. In Italy, in 98, 25 was a youngster. So he was one of the youngest players out there. But yeah, so when, to see him go get eclipsed as a player was sad. And there was very little confidence that he's going to come back, and to find out that he had this incredible mind that was thinking all the time about how to be, how to understand the game. And when he came to the pitch and brought that really changed the dynamics. Even now with Inter, I think he plays a game that is very different from everyone else. The kind of wingers he plays, the kind of movement he asks for from his defenders, that I believe is a really wonderful thing. Probably something that he wanted back in his Senior and Eriksen days. And that's what I've heard recently, that players from that time, coaches from that time, they used to hate Inzaghi in the team, and that's the reason why they dropped him, because this guy always used to come up and say that I want to do this, I will do this, I'm going to do this, and he was not in a position to do that. He was a youngster in that team, very honestly, a team which had Hernan Crespo, and you have this
Very true.
who you paid most amount of money for, and you have this guy coming and telling that, look, I have this coach mentality and I can bring it to.
And from a striker, usually that's very unusual, isn't it?
Yeah, I think what happened very good for him was that when he was under Mancini, that was still before Di Canio had come in. So under Mancini, he kind of gained that, player manager kind of a role, which Mancini himself had done at Lazio a few years back. So I think that helped him a lot. I guess their hairstyles are also very similar. Like I used to mistake between them when I was young. So that really changed him as a coach, and you see what he's doing right now, really wonderful. Of course, it hurts every time that he beats us. It hurts. It hurts a lot.
Quite heavily also this year.
Yeah.
Quite heavily, yeah. But at least the first time he came to Olimpico, we beat him. So it was like. So that was whatever our getting back to him in some way. But I obviously wish the best for him. Overall, about what you say about the fraternity between.
Do you support Inter in Europe?
I have. So
you have an Inter jersey.
I don't have an Inter jersey, but the thing is
We can send you one.
I would not mind at all.
Inzaghi 9 at the back.
Yeah, that would be really cool. So yeah, I mean, talking about the kind of fraternity that Inter and Lazio have as fans, especially as someone who's far away from the actual action. For me, the initial impression was, of course, Inter was someone I really hated, because one of the first matches I ever watched was the UEFA Cup fixture where Ronaldo, basically,
Thank you.
basically run us ragged and whole. Like,
I said this at the start of the podcast that had you all won the UEFA Cup that year, I think the banter would still be going on in 25.
Yeah, exactly. So I always consider 2002 as payback for that, and like
fair enough
in some way for me. However, what I also figured out about the the kind of fraternity that existed, mostly I came to know from, say, internet forums, because in internet forums people will be like, we are all Kurva Nord, and we'll be against Milan in many cases. So there was always this kind of fraternity there. Also blue, so started figuring that they're similar,
and so many players, man.
And so many players. That's what I was coming to. And one of the major things that Inter did for us is that when we got bankrupt in 2002, Inter picked up a lot of players from us. So initially, of course, Crespo and.
What a team that was!
Yeah,
man. I can never forget. Stacked.
Juan Sebastian Veron, but he went to United.
He went to United. Yeah. He went to United actually before the bankruptcy broke.
What a player, Veron! Man. What a player!
It's okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
What? Oh, okay.
Cozy.
La Brujita. But yeah, definitely. So that's when a lot of players were picked up by Inter. So of course, Stankovic later on, Mihailovic much later on, and even lesser famous players like Cesar, of course, Pandev we talked about. There's this guy Correa, which no one likes.
Oh yeah.
So
Param's favorite striker, Correa.
So although I do believe that Inter have had the major share of victory spoils over us, especially the Champions League qualifying season, which we were we had gone very deep into that, thinking that this is going to be a year. De Vrij was signed the year before, and he was a revelation, and we were selling him because we were almost sure of getting into the Champions League. That was what we were talking about, and there was just this one game, and Inter weren't really also on such good form at that point in time.
Yeah, it was a rebuild under Scudetto.
And the first half was brilliant, and I actually was able to watch only the first half, and then I was like, whatever, I should probably sleep. And then I woke up somewhere in the middle of the night and I'm like, let me just go back and check the score. And that's when all the,
and now you have Vecino in your team.
Vecino has been nice to us. So that's the thing. I think some players have gone, between our clubs. We've found perhaps older players from Inter who fit our bill. We've been able to pass off players like Acerbi, who probably had some issues with the management and things like that. Even Pandev, I think, was
Hernandez
actually went to Juve first. So yeah, I mean, there have been these kinds of
Inter first and then Juve.
Oh, I think yeah. Inter first.
Oh,
and
I think him from London.
Lichtsteiner was Juve first. Yeah, Lichtsteiner was Juve first. I mean, that's the thing. We used to find such fantastic players, and it was so sad to see that these people who I supported are going ahead and doing such wonderful stuff. But then also it's a good thing. So yeah, I mean, I don't really feel a special sort of brotherhood or something with Inter. But overall, I think if it's a match between, say, Inter against Roma or Juve or even Milan, I would support Inter, no question.
That's
and
fair.
I'm supporting them for the Champions League this
That's
year.
fair.
Please, and let's do that sweep like Inter wins the Champions League, we win
and Roma for the Europa.
Roma for the Europa League.
we win the Europa League and
Fiorentina, no chance.
Fiorentina, let's keep it all blue, let's not get any red in there.
Before we move on to the next segment, quickly, Rahul, which is the favorite? How many games have you watched live at the stadium? Since you mentioned Kurva Nord, your best game that you watched, favorite memory from that game?
Unfortunately, every game I've been to, I've watched 3 games at the San Siro, the Meazza, and they've all been draws.
Oh wow!
So I'm a bad again.
Superstition.
Stop going.
I'm not superstitious, but everyone's telling me not to go anymore.
To go. Especially if it's a game that that means a lot.
Yeah.
Rahul, you're not allowed.
No, literally.
I think we should also ask Rahul which kit do you think is the most legendary, iconic Inter kit?
The treble one, 2010.
Has to be.
Yeah.
Classic black and blue.
Clean collar.
Just for design. I'm not talking
just
about
for
the memory.
No. Yeah, just for design. Clean, just round collar, straight stripes with a nice, width, not too wide, not too thin.
Yeah.
Just clean.
What about the one, the R9 season? Was it the Europa season? The grey and black.
The grey and black.
Horizontal stripes.
The horizontal, that's iconic. But if you ask me for my perfect kit, is the 2009-10.
Got it.
Yeah. What about the Sprite kit? The Nike third?
No, I hate all these experimental kits. The red one I hate.
Oh yeah.
The Sprite one I hate. The one this season, even the third
Really
one
funny.
is yellow.
Yeah,
I don't
we
like
spoke
that
about
one.
it. But the second one's really good.
The second
This
one's nice.
season.
Yeah.
What about the Visione one, the serpent one?
Oh yeah, I like that one.
I like that.
I have that
Really?
one. Yeah.
It's too much happening,
Too much happening.
I think
I'm just scared of snakes, man. Seen a lot of snakes. Miriam Pjanic, But yeah, I think we can move on to the next segment, which is going to be a fun and light segment. So
before that, but let's throw a little light on the Scudetto race. I think.
Oh yeah.
Very important.
Very important.
We have both our.
We have 3 contenders because even Lazio are there. You have to admit that they're there in the back.
No, 100%. I mean, they're there. It's going to be a bit of a hard one for Juve as well. But let's start with Anubhuti. What are your thoughts, Anubhuti, seeing how the race is panning out? I think 11 games left now in the season. Some teams hitting their stride now. Then, of course, we also have to forecast what the fixture list is going to look like, especially for the top 4. And then, of course, we consider Lazio as well. Where do you think this is going to go, and how do you think it's going to go?
I think one of the concerns I had is that we were seemingly, at least 2 games back, we seemingly were in a very weird patch, even against Inter or anyone. It felt like we were going in the wrong direction. I feel the last 2 games with scoring at the last minute has helped the momentum quite a lot. As people were mentioning, I think we are still in the race. We're on 50 points. It's not far.
Yeah, 8 points, right?
Yeah,
8 points for Lazio.
Exactly. So we are totally in the race, I believe so. And I mean, this year we've seen teams go up and down so easily. Like we've seen Juve go down and then come up. We've seen Roma go to, I don't know, the depths of hell and then come out.
Back, upwards and onwards. Die.
Yeah, I mean that's a good thing. That's a good thing with Ranieri coming back. And similarly, also Atalanta has been really good, but
Atalanta as well.
They have to get tired out at some point of time. I'm hoping that they do. So I believe that with the fixtures list, it is kind of difficult. We did face some big teams recently and did not do that well. So the 6 pointers did not go so well. But I am quite confident that we can probably sneak into, like, not just sneak into, we will be in the Champions League positions at the cost of Juve, hopefully, or whoever, like at the cost of Atalanta, because they're not in the room. So I mean, literally any of them. It is more or less what I see right now is that it will be a game in which there'll be a lot of ups and downs in the next, few fixtures.
A lot of double headers coming
up. A lot
up.
of double headers.
6 pointers.
A lot of mental strength required. So I'm really looking forward to it. That this is, although Italy did kind of crash out of the Champions League, but this is one of the most interesting Scudetto races that
definitely in recent memory.
And I feel that is really wonderful. I mean, I am glad that we are making content for it. I wish the teams made more content for it and made our league much more popular. I mean, and especially amongst like you were saying, amongst women, amongst young people, you hardly see that. I mean, even here we are mostly millennials, so it is something that the league needs to do. Use these seasons as as evidence of how good we are, and I of course hope in Europe things work out. I think I was going through a poll somewhere, and there was a question: do you want to be in the Champions League next year through Serie A, or would you rather win the?
You pick the first one.
Yeah, UCL. So everyone picked the UCL one.
Yes,
so
smart people.
Yeah. So they were. So I think we need some European success as well. So if it comes at the cost of perhaps benching some players for some games, I think it should be worth it, because I think Europe, we have this year caught the fancy of a lot of people. One major person is of course Pedro, because like people don't understand what kind of a person.
What's happened to him?
He's 37. I think
39.
Like fine wine, and
I hate to admit it, man. I mean, he's done really well this
Just
year.
mind blowing.
Yeah, and he's the person to call on for all these matches.
Yeah.
He comes on late on in the Europa League matches, and then either he scores or he does something really wonderful. So I think I see that we've got the attention of a lot of people. People were talking about having a Lazio versus Man United final, which is not something that I would have heard in any of the other years. But by being top of the league, Europa League, I mean, we did do a really good thing. So let's see how the Scudetto race pans out. I would say that for Lazio, primary focus should be on the Europa League this year, and try and sneak up one of those positions.
But do you think that's going to compromise their run-in?
I think it is going to compromise their running in the Scudetto race. I mean, either you go all out for the Scudetto race, which I don't think we're going to do. I don't think that's the kind of squad we have.
When you look at the depth and the experience.
The depth and the experience, and also we are somewhat of an unknown element in Europe, which in Italy sometimes we are exposed. Sometimes, people like Tavares, people like Pedro, people know them for years.
Right.
So they can counter them. But in Europe, these are players who've like really come on and done really wonderful things. Isaacsen, of course, really wonderful. We got him from a Europa League match. So that's the thing. So I feel that Europe is for now our first priority. Scudetto race, perhaps not. Champions League race, definitely I do believe that someone will slip up, and if we keep it consistent, we'll get into the fourth or third Champions League place.
Very interesting. Rahul, man of the hour. What's your read on the run-in? Clearly, I think all of us would concur that Inter are
Favorites.
all-out favorites.
Again,
yes.
No pressure. but the way you read at least the run-in, I think Inter's last game is against Lazio, if I'm not mistaken. Some funny memories then?
Second last to
Second
last,
last,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, look, Como was our last game actually.
Yeah.
Wow. Second last game against penultimate game against Lazio.
So,
So another favour.
keeping the run-ins in mind, when you look at everybody's fixture list, you've got Juve with an Atlanta run-in.
This
Juve
weekend,
still
this
gotta
weekend,
play.
Juve
That's
and
happening this weekend. You've got Lazio coming up against. Napoli's got a slightly easier fixture list comparatively, but Atlanta's got a very hellish, final 11 games. What's your take? Of course, you have the depth, you have the most mature squad in the league, and you are top of the league. It's really yours to lose. what's your read on the situation with the chasing pack, and what's your read of the situation in terms of the players that you have and how mentally equipped they are to go all the way?
Yeah, to me, it's going back to that point of the 3 competitions. If we keep going further in the Coppa Italia and the Champions League, then it's just going to drain the energy levels for the Scudetto. So I think it's going to go down to the wire. I still think we're going to win it, but I think it's going to be like it's going to be the most exciting title race that we've had in a long time. It's going to be 1 or 2 points, I think. Because even when Milan won it, I know it went to the last day, but it was like they just needed to win it. And
correct.
Yeah, I think this one will be decided on the last day, and I think it will be between Inter, Atalanta, and Juve. No offense to Lazio, but I think.
And no Napoli?
No Napoli?
Oh, sorry, yeah, Napoli. Napoli for sure, yeah, with Conte. I think it's going to be those 4 teams.
Conte has a read on the run-in,
Yeah.
right? Like he's done it enough to know what it is.
Yeah.
And no European fixtures
To get it
throughout.
over the line.
Yeah.
You know, and this is probably a more relatively weaker Juve as against previous years in terms of a run-in. They don't have the experience. So I feel that's where by process of elimination, I think it's really Inter and then Napoli.
Yeah, really is Inter Napoli, yeah, in my opinion.
In terms of,
because it seems like Atalanta run out of steam a little bit.
They are, and they've got a very tough
Juice, you mean
fixture list,
juice.
you know. Yeah. And I also feel like their dressing room is you know, on the cusp.
Yeah, with Gasperini,
It's on the cusp, you know. It's very combustible at the moment. Nothing's gone down just yet, but it could.
Yeah.
You know. That's why there's so much, you know, pending on this Juve-Atlanta fixture.
Yeah.
Juve beat them suddenly, cat among the pigeons. They're third.
Yeah.
You
never know. You never know.
Tough for me. I will come to that. But yeah. So your read is Inter at the death.
At the death. Yeah. I think it's gonna drain everything out of us. We might stumble along the way, but I think they will manage to do it in the end. But it might cost us our Champions League. Right.
Yeah, I was coming to that.
Yeah.
So you think they'll win the Scudetto and lose out on the Champions League?
Yeah, I think even though they seem like they want to go further in the Champions League, I think it just they won't be able to do both.
Yeah, you don't see that.
No.
So you see the Scudetto more realistically.
Yeah, I think they will lose to Bayern Munich, and then they will just like, okay, now let's just win the Serie A and Coppa Italia. I think we could do the double then.
Which is not a bad way to end the season.
No.
A good way to kind of consolidate Inzaghi's time at the club. AJ, what's your take on the situation?
I really feel that Inter should go all out for the Champions League because it's there, it's ripe, it's for the taking. Even if it may cost Inzaghi and Inter the Scudetto to say an Antonio Conte's Napoli, just go for the Champions League, man, because every team is beatable. Even this year, Real Madrid, for everything that they've done, they're quite beatable against an Inter team who I don't think so any opponent should take them lightly on the day. The route is there because even Barcelona's Hansi Flick's Barcelona quite beatable on the day. You saw Benfica should have probably won the first leg, but so you have the path, like you mentioned, Vincent Kompany's Bayern, say a Barcelona in the semis. You on the final 90 minutes of just one.
You don't fear anyone.
You don't fear anyone. So I feel that Simone Inzaghi and Inter, the time is right. Go for the trophy with big ears. Italy haven't won a Champions League ever since the Mourinho 2010 Inter win. So I still feel that with Napoli and Conte, you see that they've been dropping points. Motta's Juve still inexperienced. Gasperini Atlanta, that chapter is over. So Inter still have the edge domestically.
Yeah.
So why not, like Inzaghi mentioned, go for all three, challenge for all three and see what happens end of the day.
I do agree with Rahul's assessment where I think that if they prioritize the Champions League, they will compromise the Scudetto. Though seeing how close they are to, like you said, there's a weaker Juve, there's an Atlanta that's a little unstable. There's a Conte now, you know what happens to him when he begins to lose and not have results his way. He kind of loses his head.
Yeah.
Which is where I think Inzaghi and his men have their, if they just play their cards right and he gives continuity to the right personnel, I think the Scudetto is where they're closer to in terms of an objective as against the Champions League, which also has its variables, right? You've got to stay injury free. Look at Di Marco suddenly injured.
Yeah.
That creates a lot of instability given the system of that. He's such an integral part of that system.
Yeah.
And that bearing and that load is going to show much greater in the Champions League than it would in the Serie A race. So clearly for me and my money, I think Inter are favourites. It's theirs to lose. In the off chance that happens, like, I think Napoli and Conte will be there to seize the crown. As a Juve fan, I feel like there's too much premature talk that a Scudetto is possible. I think it's just an illusion right now. It could become somewhat of a mirage, so to speak, if we beat Atlanta, because then there's also temperament of the other teams that comes into play, right? And because you're suddenly growing in belief, everybody around you is getting nervous, given that they think that you can do this, you've done it in years past. But till that time, the jury is out. It's a very young team. The coach is really young. He doesn't have the experience to go down as a coach all the way to the wire. So I think, like Anubhuti, I feel like Juve will make it to the Champions League. I think Inter will win the Scudetto, and I think Napoli are very firm favourites for second place now. Seeing how things turn out. But assuming those two begin to falter, then I think Juve have an edge over Atlanta.
Yeah,
I can't see Atlanta go all the way, given their schedule and B, their dressing room situation.
Listen, if Inter win the treble, Rahul is going to come to Mumbai every year and record a podcast with us because
he'll do that anyway. Do that remotely.
He said he's superstitious about that, so please do that.
Actually, he's going to have to play. If they win it, then he knows.
Then I'll become superstitious.
If you need a draw in the last game, go ahead and go to the match. Answer because you're going to get it.
Yeah, true.
Fair enough. And just to close this topic out, like Anubhuti mentioned, just quickly, Rahul, because it's a very it's a topic that we love to talk, and we can talk about hours about it. Why does the league not care about marketing themselves, especially to Asia? I know they're doing a fab job in the US, but in Asia, the Premier League and La Liga aren't stupid. They're catering to India. The population is the highest. There are a lot of young fans here. We have a young generation coming up, and they all watch football, by the way. European football and Premier League football, is number one, undisputedly. So what do you make of the league not marketing themselves enough? What do you think is wrong with the whole Serie A, I don't want to say dinosaurs, but hierarchy in Serie A?
Yeah, I mean, you guys have talked about it ad nauseum. It's just the strategy from the top. I work in, my day job is in marketing as also, like I get super frustrated with like how everything is done, but it's clearly they're focused on that American market, the Italian American, which makes sense. Obviously there is money there, but it's like, the rest, what about the rest of the world? I think they don't see themselves like, in business or marketing theory, you're like, you're either the leader or the challenger, or you're like, in the niche of like, the up and coming. Clearly Italian football is not the leader anymore, but I think, as you said, the people at the top, I don't think they see that still. They still think we're, Italian football, the brand, we don't need to do anything new, it's fine as it is, but they probably need to do innovative things to like catch up to the other brands, like how the La Liga does you've seen those graphics that they do, the 3D, the modeling. Like Italy, there's nothing different.
There's nothing.
You tune into a Serie A game, there's no innovation there. The graphics, the scoreboards, everything is from the 90s it's just so frustrating. Like there's just no forward thinking, and it has to, as we talked about with Inter, it starts from top of the leadership has to change. There has to be more new visions, new strategies put in place. That's where it starts.
My counter argument to Serie A doing well in the US, despite whatever they've done, the most popular league over there is still the English Premier League. And then the second team, is either a Madrid or a Barcelona. So even in North America, US and Canada, Serie A is there because of the immigrant population. But when you come down here to India, you see it's just the Premier League and La Liga.
Because AJ, we've spoken about this before. The problem is it's not a made-for-TV product. So when you have markets that are far-reaching, and you have new emerging markets, like India is such a big market. The Far East is a big market. Southeast Asia is a big market.
The Middle East,
they've kind of tapped into, because like I said, their mentality is very clear. You focus culturally on the people who you want to talk to, and secondly, where the sponsorship is going to come from. Here, what they seem to think is, they don't care about jersey sales, they don't care about ticket revenue at the stadium, because if you see the site of the current stadiums, horrible. That is so important for you to change and revolutionize, Because only when you're a made-for-TV product will you make TV money and TV sponsorships. The second thing, something so simple, right? Look at the TV timings.
Yeah.
Do you know the telecast timings here? Rahul?
I got to experience it
It's
this week.
crazy. You're seeing a Premier League game at 6:30. You're seeing a Premier
Yeah.
League game at 7:30 on a Sunday. And what am I waking up at Atlanta Juve at 1:15 in the night on Sunday night when I've got work the next day? How is that going to play out in the long run? You're going to alienate and isolate key markets, which is what they've been doing over the years. And gate receipts, apart from Juve and now Atlanta and of course Udine, these guys, how can like clubs like Milan and Inter not have their own respective stadiums?
Yeah, Roma Lazio as well.
It's shocking. And you see those stadiums, right? Like we've all been to these stadiums.
The Napoli,
The Napoli stadium looks like it's going to fall apart. It looks older than the Colosseum. I'm not kidding, with due respect, but this is where like owners need to be a lot more proactive, and unfortunately they're so old. Their mindset is such because they're still thinking they're in the 80s and 90s. That fans will come to them proactively and their team is everything there is, but they have to take those blinkers off, and Italy really needs to up its game because I think the talent is there. Look at the way the league is shaping up. 8 points across the top 5. I mean, that is made for TV drama. And imagine that's not going to be the case. We're still going to struggle to see our games. We're going to struggle to see our Coppa games. Super Coppa, for example, we're going to struggle. Why? It's so unfortunate. And the talent, I mean, across the league, talent is brilliant. Dorgu just went to United.
Yeah.
What a great talent.
Well, to be fair, from 15 to 15th, I mean, is it that big a jump?
Touche.
But
anyway,
let's move on to the fun segment after this, because we can speak about this segment for hours, because there's so many things that are wrong with the way that Serie A is marketed. But I think, Deej, we can move on to the fun segment of this particular episode.
Sure. So we can put Rahul on the spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. He's in the spotlight now.
So we'll start off with a very simple game, Rahul. Okay, I'm going to name 5 Inter players.
Okay.
And you've got to associate one word with them. Okay.
Yeah.
One word to describe what. It could be anything. It could be an off-the-field persona kind of word. It could be on-the-field work ethic kind of word. Just an adjective that just sits right. Okay. Let's start with Bastoni.
Class.
Barella.
Energy.
Di Marco.
Left foot.
Dumfries.
Brick. But that's personal joke that I call him Brick Freeze.
Okay. All right. And Lautaro.
Bull.
Fair. Okay. AJ, round 2.
Round 2?
Okay.
You want me to take round 2?
Yeah. So I'd like you to come in on this game.
Okay.
Where name an Inter player till one person loses.
Okay.
Yeah. The one I briefed you about. So it's really simple. Okay. It's between you and Ajay. You just have to name an Inter player and then he has to name an Inter player till one of you runs out of.
Well, just any era.
Any era.
Is it with the last letter, the last alphabet?
Yeah, so it's like
an Antakshari.
It's like an Antakshari.
Oh, bloody hell.
Inter-Antakshari. We needed Param for this.
Ideally, he's our resident
I am subbing
analyst
for Param.
and stat man.
So if I lose, Param loses.
Oh my God, I'm awful at stuff like this.
Okay, so I think we open the floor to you. Why don't you start?
Lautaro.
Oh, Obafemi Martins.
Obafemi.
Okay.
I.
See, I'm like panicking in the moment.
I've got one, but sure.
Same.
I just, in the moment, it's like, I'm just going blank.
Take your time. Not too much, but take your time. We start ticking in a second or 2.
I'm trying to think current squad. No, I think I have to go further. But Inzaghi.
Oh, that's a good one. I again, Ibrahimovic.
Oh, of course. What's the C? Conceição.
Oh, again. Oh, this is a tough one, man.
Tough one.
Can you guys think of any interplay with no?
Bro. Oh. Turkish.
Oh yeah. Emre, but not Emre.
No, there's the other one, I think.
No, so I pass.
Out.
I'm out. Round 1 to.
I think I should have been out for the I one.
You should have. That was straightforward.
Another round, please. Another round.
Okay.
I'll start.
This time Roma.
You start.
I'll start.
Roma.
No. Inter would play.
Inter.
But a player who's played for both Roma and Inter. Kivu.
You? Oh, bloody hell.
That's a hard one.
Easier with English players, because I have a lot of English players with the last name U.
Can't think of anyone with the U.
Preemptive strike, AJ.
I thought of this. That's the rule number 1 of Antakshari. You always give that difficult song with the last.
No, I can't think of anyone with the U. I'm sure there's probably someone, but off the top of my head, nothing's coming.
What about someone called Umberto?
Yeah, Ugo Longo.
He's maybe in the 60s, probably.
So round 2 to me?
Yeah.
Round 2 to me?
So best of 3 then.
Best of 3. Last round. Last round.
Or Barella.
A. Arnautovic.
C. You could go for.
Very easy.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of the last letter now, either.
Damn it. My strategy against me.
Oh yes, Chalanolu.
I knew that. I'm out.
Game set.
Game set match. Well played.
You shouldn't have given me the strategy.
This is on you, Parab.
Good one. Okay.
Alright, so for the next segment, Rahul, your Mount Rushmore of Inter players.
Ooh. How many is it? 4?
4.
4, right? Yeah.
Did you go to the Mount Rushmore monument this time when you
No,
in
I
the
did
US?
not,
I think it's 4.
It's 4, yeah.
Right. So I guess it has to be Giuseppe Meazza, just because even though I never watched him, this stadium's named after him, top scorer. So we'll go with him. But then the rest I'm gonna do only players that I watched. So my Mount Rushmore. So Javier Zanetti, obviously, Il Capitano. I think he represents Inter in all facets, all ways. Then I'll go for R9. He's the reason why I started supporting Inter. Even though maybe his Inter stint isn't really his peak.
Yep.
And then last one. I think I should go for Facchetti, but again, as I said, I've never watched these guys play, so I feel like I want to go for players that I watched play. So I'll go for. I'll put Milito in there.
Oh,
wow.
Very good shot. Very good
Wow.
shot.
Just for that one season is just defining,
Yeah.
era defining.
Amazing.
Lovely. I think that's a good Mount Rushmore.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Very. Who was the second one? After
Zanetti. Zanetti, Ronaldo,
And Milito.
and Giuseppe Meazza. So I think that's a good Mount Rushmore.
Very interesting. Yeah.
You want to do this or that with the other? No, not football. So we'll move away from football for a bit.
Sure.
You want to do this or that in terms of cities with Rahul, because he's lived in many cities, he's traveled everywhere. So you want to?
Oh.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to put him on the spot between the UK, India, and.
Yes.
Yeah.
Come on.
I think that'll be fun.
That'll
Okay,
be
so
fun. That'll be
we'll all
fun.
go with one this or
Yeah,
that.
go for
Okay.
it.
So, Milano, Mumbai.
Wow, fresh. I'll go for Mumbai actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I've really enjoyed these last few days. Yeah.
Okay, great.
There's not that much to do in Milano, to be honest. Outside of Inter,
That's fair.
and
That's fair.
you go to Lake Como, but
Yeah, so to enjoy Milan, you have to leave Milan and go to Como.
yeah.
You know, so
Okay, you can enjoy a new team actually now.
Yeah. Leicester or Punjab?
Oh,
Hard.
just so I don't get assaulted by my dad, I'll say Punjab.
Anubhuti, your turn to ask.
I don't know what cities have you lived in, but London or Rome.
Rome.
Wait, London is so gloomy, man.
Yeah.
The weather. The
Yeah.
weather makes so much better, and Rome is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, for sure. But he has lived in London for a bit.
Yeah.
You know, so that's a fair question. What about pineapple on pizza or no pineapple on pizza?
Oh, next question.
Indian cuisine or Italian cuisine?
Oh.
yeah.
And also, let me add, British cuisine that masquerades as Indian. I mean, the British really. I don't like.
No,
British
but you do get good curries in London.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. You got enough Indians there.
So British Indian cuisine or Italian?
I'll go for Italian.
Nice. Pasta or pizza? Your preference?
Pizza.
Nice. The Napoli fans would be happy.
Yeah, Napolitan one specifically. Yeah.
Yeah. Favorite city in Italy that apart from Milan that you've been to? Milan and Rome.
Florence.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Nice. Yeah, I'm out of questions. Oh yeah, the Viola fan, the in-house.
Big Firenze fan.
Yeah.
What do you watch Formula One at all?
I used to, but not anymore.
So if I was to go McLaren or Ferrari,
Ferrari.
I would answer McLaren because purely because Ferrari are owned by the Agnelli group. So
I was trying to get in there.
Yeah.
So I have
Well, the Lewis Hamilton thing, made my interest. Got my interest back.
Yeah. Especially
I have
that
to-
photo in the Enzo Mansion.
Yeah.
I have to ask you, Rahul, do you follow cricket?
Unfortunately, I don't. I have zero interest in cricket. Sorry.
Especially in the UK, since in the UK you do have a lot of cricket that's been played.
Yeah.
But since it's a good thing, since you don't follow cricket, do you know what a 6 and a 4 are?
Yeah, no, I know the basics.
If amongst the idols, Sachin Tendulkar, Virat Kohli, have you watched them play?
Yeah. So when I was younger, one of my cousins, they moved from India, so they were obsessed with it. So I was watching between 2006 and 8. I followed.
Prime Indian team. At the
Yeah.
time.
So yeah,
Dravid,
Tendulkar.
Ganguly. What about Bollywood?
Oh God, not really. I like Amir Khan movies. Like I like Three Idiots. I like that one. Yeah. What's the one where they go on a trip?
Zindagi Na
Na
Milegi
Milegi,
Dobara.
That one's good.
Yeah.
But the other one, the Amir Khan one, where they go on a trip as well.
Dil Chahta Hai.
Dil Chahta Hai. Yeah, that
Goa.
one. Yeah, I like Amir Khan movies.
That was a breakthrough movie for us millennials.
100%.
As the first movie that they catered to us.
And they also changed the language of Bollywood.
It did.
By big measure. So,
It did.
So yeah.
And we still dance to that song.
Yeah.
At every
We
party.
had everything.
Going.
So a lot of this music actually ages really well, because those beats are still very Bollywood and the Indian wedding ecosystem is very Punjabi by nature.
Yeah. Even in the UK, even Gujarati weddings is all Punjabi. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. So it's got that vibe, and so you go back to hard drums and beats, and so Dil Chahta has that kind of music.
Yeah.
Listen, every Indian household, irrespective of wherever they are in the world, if they have any guests coming in, and when you're like 8, 9, 10 years of age, your job is a performer. You have to perform. Uncle, auntie आए dance करके बताओ बेटा. गाना गा के
My
बताओ.
mother still does it. Come on, DJ.
You're a youngster.
Dance a master.
You're a youngster.
She knows, huh?
Gen Z. In Serie A, you're like a toddler. Serie A to.
Fully.
Primavera.
So I think also there's one interesting take where I'm going to go back to football. I'd love Rahul to kind of give us his playing 11 from the league at the moment. The best 11 players that you believe in the league.
Ooh la la.
Per position.
Form or like what are we going for? This season or?
Yeah, I think the last couple of seasons, emerging players plus the guys who've been consistent, but the best 11, if you were to put this team out against a bunch of aliens, who will you have representing this area?
It's difficult because in goal I thought Manyang would have been an easy pick, but then he's been
this year,
putting stinkers after stinkers. So coach will go for Inzaghi. Let's do that. Easy.
Il Mister.
So it has to be a 3-5-2 because he doesn't know any other formation. So we'll go goalkeeper Jan Sommer. I think he's not like crazy, but I think he's just consistent, solid. Then we'll go I think it has to be Bremer in the middle, for sure. Regardless of the ACL, I think he's the best defender in Serie A. Then I'll go Buongiorno and Bastoni.
Fair.
I don't think you can get better 3 centre-backs than that.
Yeah.
And then wing-backs, Di Marco and... Should we stick in a winger as a wing-back? What are some wingers that we could stick in a wing-back from a couple of seasons, last couple of seasons? We don't really have any outstanding
tough,
wingers.
Yeah, it's a really tough question.
I'll
Maybe Atalanta player. Maybe give it to Lookman over there if you want to.
No, we'll save.
No, I feel, Lookman, maybe no.
Yeah.
It's,
No, okay, let's take Dumfries and Di Marco.
Okay.
Yeah. Then CDM will go Hakan. Lobotka. Because Hakan's not been good this season. And Lobotka's been consistent. I'll give it Lobotka consistency. Can't go all Inter.
Instrumental for the Scudetto also.
Yeah. Then Barella, obviously, right centre mid. I think he's one of the obvious picks. The left centre mid is like...
It's a coin toss, to be
Yeah.
honest. What about Derun, because he's...
Edison.
Edison,
Let's go Edison. Edison, left centre mid. And then now up front, 2 strikers. So this is where Lookman could come in.
yeah.
So it's Lookman, Thuram. We can't put Vlahovic in anymore. Lautaro.
Retegui this year, especially.
This year, Retegui,
No Lukaku, please. Because against aliens, he's not going to save us.
Yeah. Big game.
Big game. You might just give a victory to the aliens.
Yeah, so big game. Yeah, thinking like that. Lautaro is like, just bull up front. I know he's not been great this season, but MVP last year, so can't look past that. And then Thuram, Lookman, I think. I'll give it to Lookman because he's been really good also European as well. Yeah,
So
that's
Lookman,
my 3.
Lautaro to save.
What was Kamaka? Would you consider him?
Nah, he was good last season, but again, he has to show a bit more. And for a team.
Interestingly, no Roma players here. No Sir Brian Cristante.
Oh yeah. So he missed out
Just
slightly.
missed out.
Yeah.
Just missed out.
I mean, talent-wise, Dybala would be there every day of the week.
If Dybala wins something this year, then probably he goes in.
Maybe Nuno Tavares could have come in, but again, only this season.
Yeah.
Rovella is a good shout.
That's it.
Rovella would be a fair shout also.
Yeah.
It's a good 11. I mean, with Lobotka, you can't go wrong, man. I mean, he's just been so consistent throughout.
Yeah.
Edison was a good fit as well. I don't know. I think Kefren would make a fair shout as well.
But he's not even a given starter for you guys a lot of the time.
A lot of that is down to Mota's, design. He's a short starter as far as I'm concerned. Like I think that guy is like a breakout.
Should be the first name on the team.
Should be
breakout talent. Did you see that goal in the Copa?
Of course.
Unreal.
Man.
And I've been watching for it every time. Like, why is this guy not starting? Like,
Crazy.
Why is Mota not starting?
Very poor decision making and in-game management. But yeah, so this was lovely, Rahul. AJ, any closing thoughts?
No, I think it's wonderful that we had Rahul coming in, taking out the time, and of course Chintan was there for a bit. So we had the whole Derby della Madonnina. We had, of course, the Derby d'Italia, Inter-Lazio, Roma, Inter, everything covered. I'm so happy that he's been so consistent uploading videos on his channel. If you guys haven't subscribed, go to YouTube, search Uncle Sharma. He's the first result out there. I think you're up to 11k subs now.
No, 10.
10k on your way to 11k.
11, yeah.
So it's a fantastic achievement because Italian football, Calcio, English-speaking world. I mean, that itself is a challenge. So to be there, where he is right now, kudos to you, man. And I think the most important thing is that he analyzes games. It's not over the top. It's not because you see a lot of content creators who go really over the top.
Unbiased, rooted opinion.
Unbiased. Yeah, you see a lot of self-proclaimed tacticos.
Yeah.
I read somewhere or I heard somewhere that Simone Inzaghi, defensive coach, low block, and I'm like, you just have to watch one game, man. I mean, that's all you have to do. So kudos to you, man, and thanks a lot for coming out. And if Inter win the treble, you know, we got
We're gonna have to do this every year.
Every year. So
Well,
it's a
unfortunately
pilgrimage.
for me.
Yeah. So that's about, you know, from my end. That's
Yeah,
about
thank
it.
you, Rahul, for coming out. You know, it's always amazing to have like a vintage fan. You know, all of us at Calcio really look out for that, and we kind of cherish those interactions to a great deal. And you know, I think like Ajay said, what is great is that your content comes out unbiased, and it doesn't come from a place of delusion. Like, you know, some gurus tend to, you know, they kind of start believing a persona and live in a certain reality. But it's really good because whatever content I've seen of yours also has been very rooted. I don't know if that's the Param influence though, you know. Is he your resident stat man and analyst and keeps you rooted? And
I should get him. I should
you
get him,
really
hire him.
should, because you know, he does a great job with us. Shout out to you, Param, even though you're not here today. And you know, and yeah, keep it going, and we'd love to do this collaboration again, maybe towards the end of the season, or maybe you know, during the summer.
Once we're back, we can do an online stream as well.
Of course, once you're back, no doubt about that. Yeah, so keep that, you know, keep up the great work that you're doing. Hopefully Inter slows down, but your work doesn't. And you know, we look forward to talking to you a lot more. Thank you so much for making time.
Thank you for hosting me.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.